All right. What is up, perps? Let's see what we got going on. Let me get a couple tabs squared away real quick, as usual. You guys know how I roll. It always takes me a minute. Trying to get some other stuff squared. And we'll give it a minute to see who all shows. This is another one of those pop-up streams, so who knows? This one isn't going to be too long, I don't think. This is basically a hangout till the wife gets home, but I wanted to look at a couple clips. DJ, what is up, my brother? But I wanted to look at a couple clips from today. I tried to find some more footage from it, but anyway, the Biden administration. Let's see. Let me pull this. Something popped up today about Garland's Attorney General Garland speaking at the inaugural gun violence survivors summit. So I decided to look at that, and this first clip we're going to watch is from Garland. Let me share this because this is. Just to flip through, give you a little bit of background on where we're at. So, Justice Department dedicates Faces of Gun Violence exhibit at ATF's inaugural Gun Violence Survivor Summit. Yeah, there are a lot of people that don't survive gun violence caused by the ATF. There's that. So let's see, because all I saw was a little bit of his clip. I wanted to see exactly what the press release and everything said. So, Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, Director Stephen M. Dettelbach of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives dedicated a new Faces of Gun Violence exhibit today at a ceremony during ATF's inaugural Gun Violence Survivor Summit. The exhibit honors and memorializes those lives have been lost tragically to gun violence. I almost can't even say that with a straight face, especially if we're talking about the ATF. Considering they have a habit of shooting people in the face. So let's see. As we remember those lost to gun violence, the Justice Department promises that we will strive every single day to honor their lives in our work, said Attorney General Garland. We promise that we will not rest until every family, every law enforcement agent, every community is safe from the devastation of gun violence. As our dedicated ATF agents pass by the Faces of Gun Violence exhibit every day, it'll stand as a powerful monument to those they are fighting for. Horse shit. So anyway, get ready for some more pushes for more gun control. I mean, we knew it was coming anyway, but hey, it is what it is. Gabriel, what's up, my brother? So let's do this. Let me swap over here and let's hear what Mr. Garland had to say. So apparently that is the display. Yeah, that's the display back behind him.
For 2 decades as a police officer, and whose heroism, even after
what is going on, computer?
Shot, saved the lives of countless other officers. We see 2
let me know if we're 5 by 5 on the audio,
put
kids.
their lives on the line to combat insidious crimes against vulnerable children and made the ultimate sacrifice. We see their stories, the rich lives they led.
DJ, no, I don't spend enough time on my grams, dude. Thank you, Damon, my brother. What's up?
beautiful photos.
I got to spend more time on Graham, but
And we see many of their loved ones here today.
let me do this and maybe
But
I'll.
we do not see them here with
I
us
wanted to.
today because they are victims of gun violence. Because he was shot and killed in his neighborhood, because they were the victims
Hey, it's
of
going good,
domestic
David. I'm
violence,
off work and
because he died of suicide
back
during a
to hang
mental
out.
health
So
crisis, because she was targeted
it's not connected.
classroom, because they made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting the public. Each victim in this exhibit was someone's world. A beloved child, role model.
And
Love of
it's
their life.
freaking connection's dropping off.
Want to express.
Hold on, guys. It's going to be one of those days. Tell you what. Since wireless is giving me issues, we're going to go wired. And maybe I can keep the sound. Let me get this back where I can hear it. So, yeah, we're going to delay or extend the pain, I should say.
After he was shot, saved the lives of countless other officers. We see two FBI agents who put their lives on the line to combat insidious crimes against vulnerable children and made the ultimate sacrifice. We see their stories, the rich lives they led, and the people who love them. We see their beautiful photos, and we see many of their loved ones here today. But we do not see them here with us today.
No, most of your
Because
victims
they are
of gun
victims
violence
of
are the
gun
ones
violence.
actually perpetuating it.
Because he was shot and killed in his neighborhood, because they were the victims of domestic violence, because he died of suicide during a mental health crisis, because she was targeted in a hate-fueled mass shooting.
So notice this, okay? And this is some of my beefs with things like this. They throw every gun death in the same bucket. Every single one. So they never have to address a root cause. They never have to go in and actually deal with any actual issues. They just throw everything in the same bucket, shake it all up, and then puke it back out at you. Domestic violence. Okay. What about all the knife deaths from domestic violence? What about the beating deaths from domestic violence? One mass shooting, so-called mass shooting, is not the same as the other mass shooting. Sometimes a mass shooting is someone who is out of their freaking brain who goes in there and just starts capping people. Sometimes what you guys call a mass shooting is gang violence, to where you have opposing groups shooting each other, and they tend to hit bystanders. If you really want to address the issue, you have to break it down by the situation, and then you can actually get to root causes. And yes, DJ Play Nice, thank you so much, brother, for suicide. You can take a person who is suicidal, take every gun they have, and guess what? They can jump off a bridge, walk in front of a truck, slit their wrists, hang themselves, drink poison, eat pills. You're not solving anything. That's why you have things like civil commitment laws. If these assholes would use them, they could actually save more lives. This person is a danger to themselves, danger to others. They're a true danger to others, where they have threatened people, they have proved they're a danger. Typically, there would be things like terroristic threats and stuff where you could take someone off the street. If they're a danger to themselves, if you merely take their guns, you ain't stopping shit. And if it's something like suicide, man, DJ, you can list them off quicker than I can. People like Walk the Talk America, Hold My Guns. These are groups that will hold your firearms for you and help you get counseling. Not just, hey, we're going to take your guns. We're going to no, because you're not solving that issue. Fluffy Bunny, my brother. I think Fluffy and Damien were here when we were listening to stuff earlier out of South Carolina.
Because she was killed in her 4th grade classroom. Because they made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting the public. Each victim in this exhibit.
DJ, you are on it, brother. I love having you chat.
A beloved child, their role model, their revered elder, their best friend, their hero. The love of their life.
I mean, like the dude in Arkansas that your agent shot in the face the other day.
I want to express my deepest condolences to all of you who are here today to honor a loved one. I would also like to extend my gratitude. Your presence here is a testament to your everlasting love. But I know that my condolences, my gratitude are not enough. I know there is nothing we can do.
Listen to this and DJ
bring back the 118 people we honor today, or the hundreds of thousands of victims of gun violence who have been stolen from their families and communities across the country. And I know that the tragedy of gun violence is so enduring and so enormous that it can often feel like there is nothing we can do. But that could not be further from the truth. In the effort to keep our country safe from gun violence, the Justice Department will never give in and never give up.
Sam, my brother, good to see you again.
We know what is at stake. So we are doing everything we can to interrupt and disrupt the cycle of gun violence from start to finish. We are working to honor the victims and survivors of gun violence by pursuing justice on their behalf and by holding the individual perpetrators of gun violence accountable for their crimes. We are using our prosecutorial and technological tools to identify the repeat offenders and gangs who are principally responsible for community violence.
Dude, it's pretty easy to identify most of those people. They normally have rap sheets that are quite extensive. Just saying. Yeah, and it's definitely clear constitutional violations. It's not just constitutional violations, like Malowowski, the dude we talked about from Arkansas. Selling guns, it's not his primary business. He likes to sell guns on the side. ATF has an issue with it. They got to come in his house and shoot him in the face. 6 o'clock in the morning, no knock warrant, not wearing body cams like they were supposed to, covering up cameras in the house. How does any of this shit justify what the ATF has done to a lot of people? Much less people that we've all followed, getting into CRS, getting into stuff that they've done with Larry Vickers, just tons of people that have been wrapped up in the ATF's horse shit with completely unconstitutional gun laws. It's absolutely mind-numbing to me that people can't see this.
Violence. We are supporting our state and local law enforcement and community partners in their efforts to drive down violent crime. We are cracking down on the criminal gun trafficking pipelines that flood our communities with illegal guns. We are deploying strike forces to dismantle every link in illegal trafficking networks, from wherever illegal guns originate to wherever they are used to commit violent crimes.
And
We are supporting evidence-based initiatives that intervene at the community level to disrupt gun violence before it occurs. We are investing in programs that focus on addressing the deadly intersection between gun violence and domestic violence by supporting specialized training for our law enforcement partners and enhanced support services for survivors. And we are using our own authorities and supporting the efforts of law enforcement agencies across the country to implement laws that keep firearms out of the hands of individuals who pose a threat to themselves.
Now, part of what he's talking about there is their new red flag horse shit. And part of what he's talking about there is this I think he talks about it in a second. I bet he does. About the whole definition of engage, or it's not engaged in the business anymore. It's basically selling guns and making a profit. I can't remember exactly how he phrases it. Shit's mind numbing to me. All unconstitutional, all absolutely unconstitutional. And when you hear them saying they're using their powers, think about redefinition of frames and receivers. Think about pistol braces. Think about, basically redefining what a machine gun is, going after FRTs. Binary triggers are next. Super safety. These people will not go after the truly violent criminals. There's untold amount on social media where these idiots are actually sitting here posting themselves with their legal machine guns, Glock switches, you name it. You damn near never hear about federal prosecutions for any of them. We've seen it in the last little bit. These sons of bitches won't even make gun theft or stealing guns a higher level crime. But oh no, manufacture a gun at home. Have a spooky ghost gun. This has another bitch going on a rant. If it was just about keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, then if you went to an FFL and sold a gun to an FFL, that wouldn't be counted. Or if you went to an FFL and transferred the gun to another person and they passed a background check for the gun sale, that wouldn't count. This has jack shit to do with keeping guns out of the hands of criminals. Vanessa Kitty, my sister, what's up?
And to others. Just 2 weeks ago,
oh yeah, it is
one of the
perfectly
most significant
clear.
Gun regulations in decades to expand background checks and curb unlicensed firearms dealing. That regulation closes the so-called gun show loophole. It does not matter if guns are sold on the internet, at a gun show, or at a brick and mortar store. If someone sells a gun predominantly to earn
Kid
a
Safe
profit,
is another one.
they
Thank
must
you,
be
DJ.
licensed, and they must conduct a background check to ensure
Yes,
that the buyer
education
is
solves
not barred
most
by
of it.
law from having a gun. This regulation is a historic step in the Justice Department's fight against gun violence, and it will save lives. But we know
not going to save a single
there is
life.
so much more work to do. This evening, as we remember those we have lost to gun violence, the Justice Department promises that we will strive every single day to honor their lives with our work. We promise we will not rest until every family, every law enforcement agent, and every community is safe from gun violence. We promise we will never stop fighting to save the lives of those we love. And as our dedicated ATF agents pass through this atrium every day, this memorial will stand as a powerful monument to those they are fighting for. Thank you all for being here.
yet more absolute horseshit emotional arguments. DJ alone in the chat has posted enough information where if we kept that information out there and people knew about more of it, a lot of the suicides, a lot of the accidents that you see with firearms, all that stuff, could basically be taken care of without trying to strip anybody of their rights or going and shooting anybody in the face. So let's look at this. This is Attorney General Lisa Monaco speaking at this same event. And why this didn't pop up when I looked for it on YouTube, I actually got to go to their site to find it. I have no idea.
I'm Steve Dettelbach. I'm ATF Director. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, this
I think we do
goober.
a little better than that, right? Good morning, everybody. All right. Thank you for being here and being part of ATF.
Remember, when you have nightmares, you signed on to this. You
Survivor
did this.
Summit, honoring the lives and experiences of those affected by firearms violence in this nation. We are really thrilled to have each and every one of you here. Now, many of you here today work at ATF or work with ATF as our incredible partners. And some of you, for that reason, have been here many times before, and you may know a lot about the important work that we do here at ATF, but not all of you.
Important work.
So I want to welcome also, and really especially,
Shooting innocent
those
people
many
in the
people
face.
here who have not been inside
Killing
this
dogs.
wonderful building before, and who may have had less contact with
Running women and
ATF
children.
over the years. ATF is a federal law enforcement and regulatory agency that focuses on violent crime. So, of course, we work for the benefit of all Americans, like each and every one of you. This building houses ATF, but in many ways, it belongs to the American public. So welcome to your office.
Okay, let me stop this right here for a second. One, the ATF started out as a tax enforcement agency. They were under the Treasury Department. They weren't really a law enforcement agency. Then they became a regulatory agency with basically law enforcement powers. This entire agency is a fucking joke. And so is this doofus running it. And someone, I can't remember who, someone did a video the other day, and they basically said that they were hearing that Dettelbach was a good dude, but he was getting kind of run and puppeted by other people in the Justice Department with their anti-gun agenda. I do not care. If Dettelbach was a good dude, and he actually had half a fucking brain, he wouldn't be letting his agency get used like they are. And yeah, Damon, he is definitely an ass clown.
The basic idea behind today is pretty simple. It's to increase connectivity and communications between the victims and survivors of gun violence on the one hand, and ATF and its partners on the other. Our hope is that today becomes a two-way street in that regard. First, we want to and we need to lift and continue to lift the many voices, faces, and stories of those who've been impacted most directly by firearms violence in the United States and to learn from them. Second, we want our visitors here today, our guests, to learn a bit more about ATF. By the way, the only federal law enforcement agency that solely focuses on protecting Americans from violent crime, including gun crime. I want you to learn more about its functions, but more than that, I want you to learn more about something I believe deeply in, and you'll see I want you to learn more about the heart of ATF. So we're going to spend most of the day, of course, talking about survivors of gun violence and lifting up their stories and their views. But with your indulgence, we're going to start the morning after these introductory remarks and hearing from our special guest. We're going to start the morning with a little ATF 101 course led by some of the nation's leading subject matter experts
and none of these laws
on fighting violent crime here. Before we get that,
They
though, I
retarded
do
ass
want to
gun
share
laws
with you
have
just a
costed
little
people
bit
more lives.
about my vision of this agency as director. It is an incredible place, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Our strategy at ATF to drive down gun violence relies on two key pillars. First,
Shoot the
we
dog.
must use data, and you're going to hear about this, what we call crime gun intelligence, to better identify and catch the most violent folks in our community, the trigger pullers who are terrorizing so many others. Second, we also have to cut off the all too easy flow of
Hold on.
firearms.
Because again, we got to hit this again. The trigger pullers who are actually pulling triggers and harming people, those are state issues. You are a federal agency. At best, you need to be able to provide some resources so the state police or whoever can actually go after these people. But other than that, you have no authority inside of the states. Now, I realize things have changed in our justice system, or justice as a legal system is so screwed up these days. And the federal powers have grown so far outside of what they should be. But most of the shit's falling out of his face has nothing to do with federal powers. And I'm willing to bet he's going to talk about being able to track guns and everything there. Let's see whether he gets into ghost guns and stuff. This will be fucking painful.
To these same violent people, often felons, who the law says are not permitted to have these weapons. And we've got to use every single tool available to do both of these things. That's why we use crime gun intelligence, data-driven investigations to remove the worst of the worst from our streets. That's why
one car, they are
just
not.
2 weeks ago, we promulgated a new rule to implement the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and to, at long last, make it crystal clear that if you are engaged in the business of dealing firearms for profit, there is no gun show loophole.
Would making that crystal clear include kicking a guy's door in at 6 o'clock in the morning and shoot him in the face? That raid was a statement. They could have arrested that guy in so many other situations that would not have led to a confrontation like that. But they had to make the statement. Just like they did with Ruby Ridge, just like they did with Waco, just like they've done with a bunch of other guys. When they kicked in fucking Twin Bros doors coming in hot, there was no fucking reason for that shit. Yeah, Fluff.
And there never was. We have a huge critical job at ATF to implement that strategy. That's because, of course, the level and types of firearms violence we are seeing in this country are wholly unacceptable. Last year in 2023, for instance, more than 40,000 lives were lost to gun violence. These are not just numbers. These are
Two-thirds of
parents,
suicides, jackass.
children, friends,
Then you include
colleagues,
self-defense,
fellow community members,
by police,
fellow Americans.
It's somewhere
And
around
it
the
would
lines
be
of
easy
7K
and maybe understandable
firearms
for
murder
anybody to be
a year.
daunted or even sometimes feel
Not
defeated
40.
by what's going on all around us. But that's not what happens to everybody who's in this room. I've traveled the country, meeting with survivors
Oh, you
of
bet
gun
your ass
violence,
they made a profit one.
and I have seen a kind of strength and courage that really defies reality. So many of you who are our guests here have turned your unspeakable grief into action, into advocacy, into care for others. The courage of these people, your courage, is remarkable. And that courage is also what I see every day at ATF, in the brave special agents and others that I have the privilege to lead as I walk into this
Thank
building.
you again, DJ.
Many of these folks literally run toward gunfire every day to protect total strangers.
Many of these
To help
people will kick in
just
your
like
door
you
at
are.
6 o'clock in the morning and shoot
Just
you.
like the survivors I meet, I'm humbled and inspired by these incredible public servants, by their courage, by their strength, and their empathy. These folks are motivated every single day to try to make a difference, to seek justice by protecting others. So my hope for this effort and for today goes way beyond mere networking. I truly hope that not only will these different groups of people, you, learn from each other, my honest hope is that we may get to the point where we can actually inspire each other to do more work and to do more together. Well, today, and by the way, this is the first, not the last, ATF Survivor Summit, is focused on mass shootings, community firearms violence, and domestic shootings. We cannot forget, of course, that there are so many other ways that people lose their lives due to firearms violence, suicide, for instance. And much more needs to be done, and we will talk about this, to talk about and stop those tragedies as well. That's why, for instance, DOJ recently released more and more information on safe storage of firearms. So I have high hopes for today. This event could not have come together without the hard work of many people. I want to thank each and every person who's here to help. I want to call out a few names. You always forget people, so I apologize, but Nick Patterson, who's been the driving force behind
The guy
this,
who's the head of an
Joey
agency
Wood,
and knows jack
Khadija
shit about
Boucher,
what his agents
Nikki
are supposed
Filippo,
to do
Earl Gardner,
for the product
Brian
he's
Nicky,
supposed to
Dwight
like,
Henniger, Christina Mastropasqua, Doug Brunel, Wyland Chan, Kiara Seal, Tammy Williams, Ryan Kay and his whole team, the entire victim witness staff here at ATF, and all of the volunteers who you see around here to help make things run smoothly,
it
and
was
so
a
many
safety
others.
car.
I also want to take a moment to thank my colleagues at the Department of Justice,
It was a state.
Christina Rose, Director of DOJ's Office of Victims of Crime, and the incredible Rosie Hidalgo, who I see.
Especially, pause that so I'm not talking completely over him for a minute. Especially with the timing of the rule coming out for the new definition of into business. Yeah, that raid was a statement. And it was a pretty clear statement that we will kick in your door and shoot you in the face. And I still think that those agents were wearing their body cams, but they're just not going to release that footage at all. Oh yeah, DJ, you know it, man. It's this long, drawn out, absolutely horseshit, emotional string of arguments. Is ta-da, here's the narrative. And you can expect this narrative to get pushed. And it's kind of funny how they're doing it. Because normally you'd see an event like this advertised hard. It would be on C-SPAN. It would be pushed hard on the news. But they've got it. The Biden administration's kind of running on two fronts right now. They're keeping us in the channel where people that are kind of plugged in and watching it can see it, but your normies out there aren't seeing it. And these idiots still running around. Oh, they don't want to take your guns. Horse shit. Yeah, sure, okay. The ATF wouldn't. Yeah, they would. Yeah, Sam. Let's see, neither one of Ruby Ridge, Waco, there are a bunch of other small ones that have been scattered all around the country that don't have to happen that way. And let's face it, Ruby Ridge, they tried to talk dude into sawing off barrels on shotguns. They never proved that he sawed off a barrel on the shotgun, but the ATF was trying to get him to do so he could get in with the white supremacist group, and then they could get in and spy on the white supremacist group because they had sawed off shotguns. How hard is it for a hacksaw? And but when he wouldn't spy on that group, then the ATF had issues with it. Then they got to go after him. With Waco, say what you want about Branch Davidians, I don't care. I think David Koresh was a freaking piece of shit. But they could have picked him up multiple times and not been trying to kick in doors. Not going in hard with agents and cattle trailers and a siege for what, 50 something days and then burning the place down. It's just,
also who's here, the head of the Violence Against Women Office, for your leadership on these issues and your support and your participation in today's summit.
Violence Against Women Office. Because
We also have with us
you
here
guys-
today 20 United States attorneys, more than 20, from all around the country. And I want to thank them for taking the time to travel for this, but also for fighting
Hold on, guys, listen.
firearms violence
be back.
and violent crime in their communities and districts all over this country every day. And additionally, we have so many ATF people, including supervisors from all over the country. We have a packed agenda, and as you can see from the program, we have to kick us off, to start us off, an incredible privilege this morning. We have the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Lisa Monaco. Now, Deputy AG Monaco is a true public servant. Since her arrival at the Department of Justice as the nation's 39th Deputy Attorney General, she has been a steadfast ally and leader in her efforts to tackle violent crime. She is one of the nation's fiercest advocates for public safety. She's also one of the fiercest advocates for this agency, its people, and its important mission. And she is one of the nation's fiercest advocates for survivors and victims of crime. And I don't say these things, just because she's my boss and she's sitting there. I have to tell you, I've seen the Deputy Attorney General operate in public, and I've seen her operate in private in meetings. And when I say that she is a fierce advocate, I mean it in every sense of the word. The passion and the smarts and the dedication is just, everybody knows. The deputy understands the significance of lifting up survivors' voices, your story, and her relentless pursuit of justice is truly an inspiration, and it really gets all of us up and working hard every day. We're honored to have her here today to kick us off. Please join me in welcoming Deputy Attorney General of the United States, the Honorable Lisa Monaco.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Morning. See, Steve? That's how you do it. Thanks so much, Steve, for that very, very kind and generous introduction. And thank you for your leadership and your vision for this agency and for today. And to the incredible team of people that you mentioned who are responsible for gathering us all. Can we please give another round of applause to the great ATF team? I'm incredibly honored to be joining all of you today to open up ATF's inaugural Gun Violence Survivors Summit, and absolutely the first and by no means the last. Today's discussions and the dedication of the Faces of Gun Violence exhibit this afternoon reflect a deep and abiding commitment by the women and men of the ATF to victims and survivors of gun violence. I'm really grateful to the ATF and to all of you for being here, especially those of you who have had loved ones taken from you by gun violence. Your presence honors their memory, and it fuels our fight for a safer and better future. The community gathered today shares a powerful bond. You are survivors, you are advocates, you are members of law enforcement, you call different places home, and you come from different walks of life. But together, you're bound by extraordinary courage. Your lives have been transformed by gun violence, but you're not defined by it. You share a commitment to turn your pain into purposeful action, doing everything you can to prevent another family from enduring the loss you've endured. I just spent some time in the Faces of Gun Violence exhibit. These beautiful photos bear tribute and pay tribute to 118 lives cut too short by gun violence, 118 individuals, 118 smiles and stories. They represent a fraction of the vast toll of gun violence that is perpetrated on our country every year. They are 118 souls who aren't with us today, but who live on in those who loved them most and knew them best. We stand together in recognition of that profound loss, alongside all those who've been touched by the tragedy of gun violence. We stand together in common cause to end gun violence and its devastation. And we stand together undaunted with resolve and hope for the future. Now, I know that when it comes to this issue, hope can be hard to hold on to, because every day gun violence continues to devastate families and communities across this country. It's the leading cause of death for American children and teens, and it's responsible for more than 100 deaths of law enforcement officers in the line of duty over the past 2 years. But there are reasons for hope. Just look around this room. Survivors are here today to listen, learn, and tell their stories. Members of law enforcement are also here as fellow survivors to listen, learn, and tell their stories. We must come together. We must pull together, as we're doing today, to stop gun violence. Now, the Department of Justice has no higher priority than keeping our communities safe, and that means going after the most significant drivers of violent crime in this country, namely gun violence. So we are hard at work. Together with federal, state, and local law enforcement and community partners, we are focusing on the key drivers of violent crime, including the repeat shooters. We're earning the trust and legitimacy in the communities that we serve. We're investing in community-based prevention and intervention programs. And we are measuring and driving results with data to achieve tangible and sustainable decreases in violent gun crimes. The good news is that we are making progress. Over the past 2 years, rates of violent crime are on a downward trajectory, but we still have so much more to do. There's no acceptable level of violent crime and gun violence. So today's convening is a critical part of our efforts, because today's convening is focused on survivors, the courage and the commitment that you share. Today's discussions will be critical to our ongoing work like the use of technology to hold violent criminals accountable and to prevent future carnage. Technology like crime gun intelligence that's supercharging our ability to swiftly identify repeat shooters and to take them off the streets. With these tools, we trace guns and bullets from crime scenes. We locate where and how people are buying illegal guns and link seemingly unrelated crimes to take repeat shooters off the streets before they can strike again. With the ATF, we're working to bring crime gun intelligence to more law enforcement agencies more quickly than ever, from the smallest towns to the biggest cities, because it is saving lives. Later this morning, you'll hear more about crime gun intelligence from Mariana Mitchum, a leader of this work here at the ATF. Crime gun intelligence has also helped us maximize the many benefits of the most significant gun safety legislation passed in the last 30 years, the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Since the law's passage, we've been using its common sense provisions to keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Under this law, we're running enhanced background checks on firearms purchasers who are under 21 years old. And because of this law enforcement has kept more than 700 guns out of the hands of young people prohibited by law from possessing them. We've used this law to crack down on more than 400 straw purchasers and illegal gun traffickers. And just last week, the Justice Department finalized a rule that will require all those in the business of selling guns to obtain a federal license and run background checks, which we know keeps guns out of the hands of violent criminals and saves lives. You'll hear more about the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and what we're doing to implement it later this morning.
Man, I was almost
from
hoping to be
ATF's
done by the
John
time I got back.
Jacobs. Today, you'll also discuss something that is too often ignored: firearms
Neighbor showed
and
up to show me his
domestic
new
violence.
side by side.
According to some research, every month, on average, 70 women are killed with a firearm by an intimate partner. Now, I started my career working on the original Violence Against Women Act, and this year will mark the 30th anniversary of that groundbreaking legislation. And since that time, the Violence Against Women Act has afforded rights and safeguards to survivors while also ensuring the criminal justice system holds perpetrators to account. But despite that progress, we need to do more. We need to do more to keep guns out of the hands of violent domestic partners. We need to do more to support law enforcement as they work to interrupt and prevent domestic violence. And we need to do more to protect courageous survivors. Now, those are just a few of the topics on the table today.
Put the abusers in jail.
Some moments
Keep 'em.
will be hopeful, others will be heartbreaking. But through it all, our promise is this: we will not stop working to prevent gun violence and to honor
I'm gonna leave
its
home.
victims and survivors. Because every single
Trying to
gun
get this done
crime
in the
is one
kitchen.
too
Then
many.
go home.
Every single
Otherwise, you guys might see
shooter who
domestic
evades
violence
justice
ever get the
is
slack.
one too many. And every single innocent life lost to gun violence
So
is
you
one
remember
too
gun
many.
time.
Once again, thank you to the ATF for hosting today's summit. Thank you to the survivors and members of law enforcement here today for sharing your experiences. And thank you to the
Bud, what's up,
experts
brother?
and public servants here at ATF who work every single day to keep people safe across this country. It's an honor to be with you, to be in your company, and to honor the victims and survivors of gun violence. I'm grateful for all that you do. Thank you for having me.
It ain't subcompact, is it? All right. So anyway, that's what happened today. Let me look and see where I can find anything else that they were talking about. Because like I said, they didn't no, it doesn't look like it. It's
not subcompact. I've got both.
It's funny that they didn't put out a lot more video on this event if it was some huge thing.
My brother.
So it's kind of like I said, I think they're running this kind of screwy where they're trying to keep this in the realm of those paying attention to gun control, where they're able to see this stuff, but the rest of the people aren't. That they're not sitting there paying attention to stuff like my dumb self does, so they don't see it. They don't see the push for it. Let me see. Tennessee's been busy today. I wonder if I can find it real quick. We watched some stuff out of Tennessee. Tennessee today, out of the House, and I think it's already passed the Senate, passed the bill to where as long as the sheriff agrees and as long as like the principal and everybody agrees that teachers can be armed in the classroom. And we might watch a little bit more of that. Mom's Demand and Students Demand and whoever else was in the audience. Man, they raised 9 kinds of hell today, which to me is kind of funny. And their arguments, oh man, their arguments disturb me. If your teachers are so unstable, you can't trust them carrying a firearm. Yeah, why should they be teaching? Why? If you're worried about them suddenly just getting pissed and pulling a gun and shooting a student, why are they teaching? If you're worried about them abusing students, why are they teaching? And there were a couple people that came into the chat, probably from X when I posted it on there, that one was ban AR-15s, and it was like, what's that going to do? So school shootings. Still, the deadliest school shooting in the United States was done with a 9mm handgun and a .22 handgun, and that was done at that was the Virginia Tech. That's still, I think, the deadliest school shooting. 2 handguns.
What was Columbine done with?
Columbine, there were, God, I'd have to look at the guns. One was a Tech 9. One might have been a sawed-off shotgun. And there were a couple other guns, but Columbine was supposed to have been a bomb attack. The only reason they started shooting people is because all their bombs were made shitty and their bombs didn't go off. In Columbine, they actually planted like 200 and something bombs or some stuff. It may have been more than that. Shayna, what's up, sis?
But not AR-15.
But no, not AR-15. I don't think an AR was involved in that. Matter of fact, hell, let's go back. Let's hit the Wayback Machine for a second and let's look at some of the stuff from Tennessee today. I hate them missing legally armed, but hey, we're just gonna run it. And they went on. Tennessee had a couple of bills. Oh yeah, if you guys haven't seen him, you're gonna see the dollar store Malcolm X. Trying to find the right spot in this real quick. All right, this is it. So we're gonna watch some of this, even though I watched some of it today. And a couple of you guys were here. Sam was here. Fluffy was here for part of it. We're going to look back at it. Now, to carry, again, there were restrictions on this. You had to have basically their enhanced permit, had to get training. The sheriffs had to agree to it. The school system had to agree to it. And as usual, the Democrats' argument is absolutely insane.
Objection. Roll to the hill. Next minute, Mr. Clerk.
House Education Administration Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
I think
Chairman White, you're recognized.
You guys have
Mr. Speaker, roll to the hill.
Or more.
Objection. Roll to the hill. Next minute, Mr.
No,
Clerk.
not yet. Hey,
Amendment 3 by Chairman Clemens, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Roll to the hill.
There's objection. We're on the board. All those in favor of rolling amendment number 3 to the hill, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
and there's, of course, the leftists in the General Assembly in the House try to put on all the
Mr. Clerk, please
poison
take the
pill
vote.
amendments and stuff like that, and those keep getting voted down.
Ayes 25, 72 nays.
It fails. Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since we have been limited to 1 minute of debate on these amendments, I'll simply say that this is a very dangerous piece of legislation that not be amended in any way that will make it good unless
I'll
we
pause
defeat
it
it.
if I keep running.
But this amendment simply says that any LAA is civilly liable for any injury resulting from a faculty or staff member possessing a handgun and using it on school property. That asked for your consideration and passage.
Representative Clemens moves adoption of amendment number 3. Proper motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on amendment number 3. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
Yeah, I couldn't find it with a NASA telescope. Yeah.
Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 23, 73 nays.
Amendment number 3 fell. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 4 by Chairman Clemens, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Clemens, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I would just say that there is no way to amend this bill in any positive way, but this simply adds an amendment that says any handgun on school property must be locked in storage at all times unless in justified self-defense and while transporting to and from school grounds. And it adds the LEA civil liability provision as well. If we're going to allow these handguns into our schools, they must be in locked storage at all times, because this is nothing but a bad disaster and tragedy waiting to happen if we do not ensure personal responsibility. Our children's lives are at stake. With that, I ask you pass this amendment.
Chairman Clemens moves adoption of amendment number 4, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 4, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 23, 75 nays.
Amendment number 4 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 5 by Chairman Clemens, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm absolutely baffled that we will not ensure that we must lock handguns up if we're going to allow them on school property. This amendment will ensure that anyone carrying a handgun on school grounds must be authorized to.
Why? If you got a teacher there that's going to carry for defense of themselves and their kids, why not say that they have to have the handgun on them and not just say they have to have it locked up? What if you said, hey, they either have to have it on them, like concealed carry, and then none of the students would more than likely know about it, or if it wasn't on them, that it had to be locked in a, approved lock, something like that. They want the instructors, teachers come in and just have to lock their gun up. That does me zero good unless I am right by that when something happens. Yes, my wife's over here snapping and waving hands.
Now, I don't know about you, but I went to a ratchet high school that was mostly of the thuggy persuasion. 100%. If shit happened, they would take down a teacher to get their gun. So I think there needs to be a little bit of situational awareness on that.
Yeah, there needs to be. I mean, it's okay. Get back to, I could carry my gun all day long, every day at school. My students will never know that I have my gun on me. Never. Oh man.
Carry pursuant to our enhanced carry permit provision under state law, requiring sufficient training, education, and experience with handguns before they carry these handguns in and around our children in our public schools, directly threatening their lives and safety. Additionally, the director of schools must notify law enforcement with
Artak,
all
what's up, my brother?
information of individuals who will have this training and this permit, and
Yeah,
requires
they
that that information be
already Artak.
confidential, not subject to public inspection, except for privacy and
Because I got to
student protection.
flip screens whenever I go back and forth. But yeah, Artak, this already passed the Senate. This is in the House. They're doing their concurring. From what I understand, this is the concurring bill, and this did pass today. So now it's basically, I think it's headed for the governor to sign. And that's one of the reasons Mom Demand and Student Demand was in the audience so heavy today, trying to raise hell. And they raised hell for a while during this. But hey, I tell you what, Artak, man, you're one of the luckiest state, or in one of the best states for any sort of gun rights right now. Because so far, your legislature, even with the Democrats completely losing their mind, the actual people with a little bit of sense have a super majority. Not to say they're all good, but they at least can throw some brakes on some of this stuff.
Purposes. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask that we pass this amendment and ensure that anybody carrying a handgun on school property is adequately trained.
And then who gets
Chairman
to define
Clemens moves adoption
adequately?
of amendment number 5, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of amendment number 5, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does anyone wish to change their vote?
So I'm saying that board turns red fast, kids.
Members in the gallery, if I hear shouting, you will be removed. That's your first warning. And if I can't tell who it is, then the whole section goes with that one person.
On that, they just voted down this amendment, and you can see the red
Mr. Clerk,
greens
please
pop
take the
up for
vote.
Votes.
Ayes 26, 71 nays.
Amendment number 5 fell. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 6 by Representative Powell, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how anybody can sit around and eat right now because I'm sick to my stomach that we have to be here listening to this bill. My amendment would make it so that parents are notified when teachers are allowed to bring guns into school. When that horrifying day happens, then teachers should be notified. Let me tell you why. Multiple reasons. This bill is...
Again, if your teachers are so untrustworthy that they can't carry a firearm, or that it freaks you out so much that they're carrying a firearm, why are they teachers in the first place? Explain that to me. If you expect a teacher, or if someone comes in the school and starts shooting, you expect a teacher to put their body in between them and the person shooting, but you can't trust them with a firearm. Explain that to me. You would expect them to grab a stapler or a pair of scissors and go at the dude doing the shooting. Why wouldn't you trust them with a firearm? Yeah, they voted on another one today in the House that was basically a preemption law, where because there were a couple bills trying to push red flag laws, and they sent it through the House Judiciary today in Tennessee that said no, these other counties, these other cities can't do their own red flag laws outside of what the state law is. So yeah, I knew that some counties could do some different stuff, but with the preemption that they're doing, it's gonna be better protections for you guys.
It's dangerous. It makes our schools unsafe. Parents should be notified. If you believe in parental choice, allow parents to know that guns are in the school so they can take their kids out of those schools if they so choose. This is dangerous. It's going to have dangerous consequences and impacts all around. Think about law enforcement. How is law enforcement going to feel safe going into a school knowing there are guns? It's going to delay responses. It is going to put law enforcement in danger. How are people going to know who was the assailant And who is a teacher with a gun?
How is law enforcement going to know who's the assailant, who's the teacher with a gun? It's called observation, dickhead. If someone was shooting and you can see them actively shooting students, that's probably your fucking issue. Anybody who would respond to that as a teacher, depending on how they handle it, there's basically two different ways. One, I could pull my students back into an area that I can control, and anything that comes in that room that's not law enforcement gets fucking shot in the face. Two, completely dependent on a situation. Well, actually, so we'll say three. One, I can get my guys out of there. Two, I can barricade them. I can protect the barricade. I can collapse it down to where that shooter can only approach me from a very small area. And three, if I get my guys collapsed back to an area and I know the shooter's in the room next to me, while they're busy, I could swing a corner and then drill them and do my thing. But then guess what? When law enforcement comes in contact, I'm going to put my gun down. I'm going to holster my gun just like you would in any other fucking defensive shooting. God, these people are freaking idiots. How's law enforcement going to know? It's called training for law enforcement and for the teachers. This is another reason my students think I have Tourette's. Just snarl and growl and chew on shit at work. It's fucking, the arguments they use are so ignorant.
This is dangerous. Let parents choose. I move adoption.
Chairman Powell moves adoption of amendment number 6. Proper motion, probably seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 6, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
No. Give me a sec. Be right back.
Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 23, 74 nays.
Amendment number 6 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 7 by Representative Thompson. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative Thompson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment is to exclude the largest county in the state, Shelby County, from this bill. We, as everyone knows here, we have a crime problem. After the guns in cars bill was passed, we've had a proliferation of gun theft from our cars, and we have a lot of illegal stolen weapons out in the streets and in the schools. Adding more guns for our teachers will simply increase the proliferation of guns in our schools and will simply make it a lot more dangerous in each school in Shelby County. And I ask you to exclude us from this bill. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's dollar store
Thompson
Malcolm
moves
X
to
standing
adopt
back
amendment
behind
number
him.
2. Proper motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 7, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Right or no? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 73 nays.
Amendment 7 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 8 by Representative Hakeem. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative Hakeem, you're recognized. Representative Hakeem. Amendment number 8.
I forget how many amendments they rolled through, but they did limit debate on each.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
each
Speaker.
amendment.
I request that consideration be given to removing Hamilton County from this legislation. It's already been stated the problem we have with guns, and then to consider teachers having the guns. The facts have already been stated. If you have police coming into the school, they don't know who's the perpetrator, or who is a friendly. So we'd ask you to please give consideration to removing Hamilton County from this legislation.
And there were a couple of counties that try to do something like
Representative
that.
King moves adoption of amendment number 8. Proper motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment 8, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 71 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Amendment number 8 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 9 by Representative McKenzie. Mr. Speaker, it was timely filed.
Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've spoken to our leadership, both on the administration side and on the teacher representation side. And both of those entities were in lockstep in saying that we have highly trained with individuals that are carrying weapons in every building where our children are. They feel that that is more than adequate and necessary. And
no, it's not
a
adequate.
period there. And then I want you to also consider what it's going to do for Knox County in terms of our risk and what we're going to end up having to pay. Our taxpayers pay in insurance. Our insurance premiums will go up if you go from the SRO. So to any individual that want to go through the.
Now this is something that I can't remember exactly where it was at, but forgive me, I'm losing memory here. But in one of the states where they did vote for teachers to be able to be armed in the classroom after training, there were some issues with insurance companies wanting to drop school districts because of something like that, which is completely just a political move. It has nothing to do with the actual safety of the kids. And you can bet your ass that the leftists will put pressure on these insurance companies to drop these schools. As soon as stuff like this keeps rolling, you can bet your ass that that's coming. Because it's just a way to try to keep the schools from doing what would be best, which is if there is a situation where a shooter's in the school, I want something in my hand more than a stapler or a pair of scissors, because I'm the one there between that shooter and my students. It's more ridiculous emotional arguments. When they talk about, hit this real fast. So if they're talking about, oh, this teacher might snap out and just start shooting students, what would stop them if they really wanted to do that from bringing the gun in and doing it without any of this? They could still do that at any time. The only difference is with this, there might be another teacher there who, little Timmy gets capped by, Coach Fred, and they tap Coach Fred versus Coach Fred going out there and killing a bunch more kids. Yes, guns are the answer. Until you can solve this violence issue, guns are the answer. Yeah, Sam Hunter, I mean, so working in see, I've been teaching since 2010. 2 different colleges, both welding programs. I know good and well if there was a shooter trying to hurt my students, that as long as I could maneuver and I took that person down, once that person's down, I'm going to remove their firearm from the area, and then I'm going to holster mine. So I'm not standing there with a bang bang in my hand when a cop's kicking a door. But I know good and well, even if there's a resource officer, now, our schools have police departments of their own, it's going to take them a couple of minutes to get to where I'm at. And there's a hell of a lot of shooting that can be done in 2, 3, 4, 10 minutes. Look at Uvalde. They sat around and beat off for God knows how long. Where if there was a teacher in the room that was armed when they barricaded and that person came through that door, that teacher would at least have some sort of chance to fight back. These idiot officers in Uvalde, If I'm not mistaken, there were windows in that classroom. They could have walked around to a window and shot the son of a bitch. All Uvalde proved is the government is not there to protect you. They are not going to protect you. So you better damn have plan A and not rely on the B team. That's what Uvalde proved. That government is an absolute failure.
Process to have them, I say, successfully go through the process, which is not nearly exorbitant. So I ask for consideration. Thank you.
Representative McKenzie moves adoption of amendment number 9. Proper second.
Joe
Proper
Morris,
motion properly
post your-
seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on amendment number 9. All those in favor of adopting, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed,
Post
vote
your
no.
channel in the chat, Joe.
Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote?
And any of you guys with wrenches, post them. Hell, I need to make RTAC.
Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 23, 71 nays, 1 present on voting.
Amendment number 9 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 10 by Representative Mitchell, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Mitchell, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is exempt out in Davidson County. I think we've seen in the last week what teachers with guns at a daycare actually do, and that happens to be about a mile.
I'll have to look up what this guy was talking about, whether someone left a gun out and someone at the one of the kids got a hold of it or something like that. I'm pretty sure I would have heard if a daycare worker snapped out and just started killing kids. But notice, and they go through this a little bit in here, and I need to clip it, but they go through all these situations where it was either a school resource officer or someone carrying off body that left a gun somewhere, a kid got a hold of a gun, some shit like that. But it was always a resource officer, and it was always someone carrying off body. And I am not a huge fan of off body carry at all. If you do it, it should never be outside of your realm of control. In other words, arm's reach. Oh yeah, dude, I'm wearing mine. I got to, drop my child off in the morning or pick my child up in the afternoon. I'm wearing my shit. It's fucking ridiculous. Why? Because the person that's going to go in there and actually do harm isn't worried about that gun-free zone sticker. They welcome that. So if they'll go in there to do harm, why am I going to be worried about that damn gun-free zone sticker? Oh, Joe, I could have swore to God that you had started one. Well, anyway. But RTAC, welcome to the mosh pit, brother. Do me a favor and post yours. That way everybody can get your channel. And let's see if I'm missing anybody. All you guys should already know, man. If you're in here, you're hanging out, you're cool, you're going to get a wrench. And I want you guys to post channels, share everything, and just spread the word. So I need to start calling it the mosh pit.
For my home where that daycare is located. But first and foremost, I want to take my time. If there's any Covenant parents in the gallery today, I want to apologize to you right now. I am so sorry that you're having to sit here and listen to this. We've done nothing for you. We've lied to you. They've said they're going to do something.
Representative Mitchell, you're on your amendment, please. No, you're not. On your amendment. Stay on your amendment, please.
Thank you, Fudd.
Hey.
Yeah, now they just muted all the mics. I'll say something for their speaker.
Representative Mitchell moves adoption of amendment number 10. It's proper motion, properly seconded. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 10, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
I didn't hear that earlier.
Ayes 23, 72 nays.
Amendment number 10 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 11 by Chairman Williams.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
There's a lot of this listening to it earlier, and I was working and trying to do stuff in between. I didn't get it. I didn't catch.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 11 withdrawn.
See, and here they said they did have an SRO.
Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
It gets mentioned later.
House Amendment 12 by Representative Jones, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to do something.
Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that the clerk please read the amendment.
Representative Jones, he gained notoriety as a BLM kind of Antifa-like dude.
There's objection. There's objection, so we're on the board. It's a motion. All those in favor of the clerk reading the amendment, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
There were 3 that were ejected. You're going to see all 3 of them today. It was Jones, it was Dollar Store Malcolm X, and the big ugly white chick. Sorry, I can't remember her name. She looks like she ought to be living under a bridge.
Ayes 23, 74 nays.
That's good.
Representative Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe that the clerk and my colleagues do not want the amendment read because this amendment is to rename this bill the Refusal to Protect Kids in Schools Act, because that's exactly what you all are doing. This bill is morally insane, and we've come to this chamber for a year expecting you to pass common sense gun laws. You have mothers and grandmothers here.
Again, and this dude, the dude standing off to his right, and then the chick that looks like she ought to be living under a bridge threatening billy goats, especially these two. Their personalities, they have blown it so far out the lines. They try to go for this reverend preacher voice all the time or this Malcolm X voice. It's a caricature. And the crap that falls out of their faces and anything that I watch these guys. And remember, the 3 of them got expelled over one of the hearings. They brought in a bullhorn, started screaming for gun control, all this horse shit. They got expelled and then ended up, I think, RTAC, did they get reinstated by the governor or whoever it was? But they got reinstated. They should have been bounced out on their asses and then kept out, as far as I'm concerned. Because they completely try to grandstand everything that they do. They are a freaking joke. But even their arguments now, again, if you are going to trust teachers with your children 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, to educate them, to teach them, say, I can't remember who, county boards, that's who it was. But if you're going to entrust these people with your children, should they not be the most trustworthy people? If you're so worried that they're going to be out there and doing something negative with a firearm, they're not the people you want teaching. Why would they even be in the building with kids in the first place? Now, have I seen average everyday people, and have I seen teachers that go that probably shouldn't be carrying? Yeah, I have, because they're so flighty, and let's put it this way: I'm amazed they can cross the street without getting run over by a 747. But they won't be able to pass the training requirements to be able to carry. So that kind of puts them in their own little bucket. So that argument should end right there. Yes, they're trustworthy. They're good people. They just don't have a lick of damn sense. So no, maybe the art teacher shouldn't carry, but maybe, coach over here, who's carries in every other aspect of his life, maybe we should allow him to carry, because he's going to have the same responsibilities anywhere he carries.
Dragged from this chamber every week saying arm teachers with the books they need, the materials they need, the resources they need. But for God's sake, you don't hear them. What you're doing today is you're going to put guns in our schools for our teachers. And you should be ashamed of yourself. My Republican colleagues continue to hold our state hostage, hold our state at gunpoint to appeal to their donors in the gun industry. It is morally insane. It is a form of idolatry. And God have mercy on you when you put the lives of our children beneath the contributions of the NRA. God have mercy on you that you do not hear the pain of these mothers saying, protect kids, not guns, and may democracy see you out of your seats, because you have not heard what the majority of Tennesseans want, which is common sense gun laws that protect kids and not guns.
Yet another point against democracy, which is mob rule.
Again, that's your second warning.
He's talking to the mom's demand in the audience up there.
We're voting on amendment number 12. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no.
Yeah, and it's only teachers. It's not
Mr.
forcing
Clerk, take the
teachers to
vote.
carry.
Ayes 24, 74 nays.
Amendment number 12 fails. Next amendment.
So that's another point, and Gabriel's making it right there. It's not forcing a teacher or saying a teacher has to carry. It is saying that if a teacher wants to carry and they pass this training and they have their I can't remember whatever they call it, the higher license or whatever, carry permit or whatever it is, then they should be able to. And then they still have to get the approval of the sheriff and the school board or whoever it was, principal. So it's not just anybody walking in the school with a gun. How about you pass bills that would fund training for teachers? It's these emotional arguments that have no fucking grounding in reality.
Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 13 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, it was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to everybody who is here to have your presence.
All right, so this is Dollar Store Malcolm X. He's the Malcolm X you have at home.
And your witness recognized may be able to stop you from stomping and clapping, but we can see you. This amendment is quite simple. It makes sure that parents and legal guardians give written consent to people being in the classroom with firearms. I've heard so many times how much parental consent matters, and it's a parent's responsibility to raise their child. I also think it's a parent's job to know if their child is being put at risk by having someone in the classroom with a firearm that another student can find, that their own child could find, and that it could be discharged and actually hurt or harm them or their kids, other kids. These laws and this law is ridiculous. It is dangerous. And parents are going to mourn and children are going to be hurt by it. And so for that reason, I move for consideration.
You heard the motion.
Absolutely ignorant of reality.
Consideration of amendment number 13. All those in favor of considering amendment number 13 vote yes when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no.
If parents could just sign a letter and keep guns out of their school, then gun-free zone signs should work, right? You ain't talking about little gangsters out there shooting each other in the fucking parking lot. You're worried about the teachers, the ones who are supposed to be the pillar of society, the dependable ones. Yeah, you said that earlier, the Jim Carrey. Yeah, Sam, you said that earlier today. I like the damn died when I saw that.
Every member voted. Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 75 nays.
Dollar Tree.
Amendment number 13, motion to
Maybe that's
consider
his
failed.
gangster
Next
name.
amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 14 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, was not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you recognize.
The hypocrisy of our legislature is showing. This would make sure that anyone who is on school property will have to notify other faculty and staff members as well. If we are going to have more firearms in our schools, certainly the people who are like my mother, who's been a teacher for 22 years, would know if someone who is teaching next to them has a firearm in their classroom. This is increasing the dangerousness
Why does
level
it
of
matter?
our schools. It is hurting and risking the lives of our children, and each and every one of us will be responsible and accountable for the gun violence that will happen due to this pathetic excuse for dealing with the gun violence epidemic. This is not only pathetic, it is ridiculous. It is immoral, it is wrong, and each and every one of us need to do more to actually make our schools safer. Arming teachers is not the answer, and if it was, teachers would have told us so, but guess what? They didn't. I move for consideration.
You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration.
How about we do a poll of teachers? Okay, I could do it at my college. A poll of teachers. Here is a incident, and then here are two ways or two things you can have to respond to said incident. The premise is there is a mass shooter who is killing students. Would you rather go at that person All right, sorry guys. Hopefully we're back, but apparently my internet is back to having strokes. I don't know, man. They're working on lines around here, and it's getting highly annoying. Let's put it that way. So now we're back. But anyway, let me get back to the screen share. Hopefully we're in the same place. But yeah, if we did a poll of teachers, what I was saying before, there's a mass shooter on campus. That shooter is trying to kill your students. What would you rather have in your hand? A stapler or a firearm? A pair of scissors or a firearm? Anybody that's honest with you is going to be, nope, wait a second. I would rather have that gun in my hand than have a pair of scissors in my hand. I would put my body in between a shooter and my students, hands down. It wouldn't even be a question. However, putting my body in between my students, and I teach kids from high school to guys that are retiring, putting my body in between them and a shooter isn't even a question. But I would rather have a tool in my hand to be able to respond to that shooter versus just jazz hands and being a meat target. And if you actually get teachers and you talk to them, you will see that.
Of amendment number 14. All those in favor of considering amendment number 14 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed
Hopefully
vote
my
no.
internet's done having
Has every member
strokes.
voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Trooper, that second warning, the lady in the black needs to go, please. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
It's 24, 74 nays.
Amendment number 14 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Amendment 15
Lady
by
in
Representative
black.
Pearson, Mr. Speaker, was
No,
not
black.
timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Box one.
Representative Pearson, you're recognized.
Thank you. And thank you to the advocate who is now being escorted out by troopers for speaking truth to power. This amendment says that a student shall be reassigned to a different classroom if their parent or legal guardian objects. And if they object, like those who care about the lives of our children object, if those parents object, realizing that gun violence is the #1 killer of children in the state, if those parents object, if they object like the parents and the teachers and the mothers and the...
Okay. So we already know, and we've been through the numbers on this channel so many times, it's not even funny. Guns are in no way, shape, or form the #1 cause of death for children in the United States. It's not even close. When you take innocent kids versus firearms for a cause of death, or innocent kids versus household chemicals as a cause of death, household chemicals kill more innocent children than firearms. The only way you even get to these bullshit numbers is if you inflate them. One, you run it up to like 19, and two, you count gang members shooting at other gang members. You count, freaking one-on-one violence. You count domestic violence, all this other stuff. It's the only way you even approach that number. God, I can't remember how many times we've broken that down before.
Fathers and the sisters and the brothers and the siblings in this room object, if they object to putting more harm in our classrooms, if they object to risking their own children's lives or their nieces and nephews, if they object, then they would have the right to not have their child to be inside of that classroom, because they realize having someone inside of a classroom with a firearm is absolutely insane. And so with that, I move for adoption.
You've heard the motion, probably seconded. We're voting for consideration of amendment number 15. All those in favor of considering amendment number 15, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 75 nays.
Amendment number 15 fails. We have a parliamentary question. Oh, motion to consider fails. Sorry.
Oh yeah, Sam, dude, fentanyl's dropping people way more than that. When you really look through the numbers, in a country of probably it's getting close to 370 million people, there are less than 7,000 violent firearms deaths a year that are actually murders. Less than 7K. It's a statistical anomaly at best. But that's why they lump in suicides. That's why they lump in justifiable homicides. That's why they lump in accidents and all this stuff to just inflate numbers. And that's why they won't be honest about those numbers. Because all they're doing is trying to pump them up. All right, let them figure this out. I'll be right back.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary inquiry is if a member, is it proper for a member to address the gallery while we're on legislation? Those comments are not on the legislation. So yes, that would be out of order. If a member feels that a member is off the amendment or not running debate through the chair, then that member can raise objection.
Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment 16 by Representative Pearson. Mr. Speaker, is not timely filed.
Representative Pearson, you recognize.
Thank you, Speaker. And I'm offering this amendment because I believe that this legislation is one of the most heinous and dangerous pieces of legislation I've ever seen. This would take away Section 2, letter H, that says an LEA would be immune from claims for monetary damages that arise solely from or related to a faculty member's use of their handgun. I believe that the culpability should be on not just the LEA, but the state for the people who die when these handguns are being used. If people who are law enforcement officers only hit 18% of times, I wonder how often the people who use these handguns are going to accidentally strike our children or other individuals or other staff members. And so the culpability needs to be on the state, needs to be on the LEA for doing something despicable and dangerous as this legislation. With that, I move for consideration.
You've heard the motion. It's properly seconded.
Did you
We're
strain the
voting
bathtub?
for consideration of amendment number
I'll close
16. All those in favor of considering amendment number 16, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 24, 74 nays.
In accordance with Rule 6B, having failed to receive necessary 2/3 of the motion, consider amendment number 16 fails. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that brings the body back to the heel of the amendments. House Civil Justice Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Education Administration Committee Amendment number 1 filed as House Amendment 2.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection,
Yeah,
amendment 2
Gabriel,
withdrawn.
100%.
Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Williams, you are recognized.
And one of the reasons that I do streams like this and watch Congress and all the other horse shit is just to go through the absurdity of these arguments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. House Bill 1202, I've worked on for several years. House Bill 1202.
So just to, and if I'm in the right spot, just to kind of give everybody kind of a layout of the land. So they just voted through all the amendments, all the poison pills that Democrats tried to throw into the bill. They shot all those down. So now they're getting to the body of the bill, and then they'll go through some debate on the actual body of the bill. And this is where some of this gets, if you thought the lines have already been blown out by the people talking about the amendments, give it a second or a minute or however long it takes, because it just, yeah, it gets rough.
Allows under certain conditions for faculty and staff members of our K-12 schools under certain parameters to be able to carry a concealed weapon with the idea of protecting those students who may be trapped, as well as creating what currently does not exist in Tennessee, and that is a deterrent as it relates to our schools. This kind of legislation is not new to Tennessee. In fact, in 2016, this body passed gave K-12 schools in distressed counties the ability to carry guns, teachers and faculty to be able to carry concealed weapons in their schools, and have done for the last 7 years without any incident. In fact, those standards from our distressed counties across the state, those standards for that faculty or staff member to carry have a much lower threshold.
Let me show this real fast just because. Share this tab instead. This is from Statista, and this is a quick search. so don't hold me exactly to this. But in 2021, around 311 children died due to abuse by two parents, and 408 children died due to abuse by their mother. That is many times more than children killed by an AR-15. Hey.
Than the current tenets of this bill that's before you today. Additionally, this body passed in 2017 the ability, with only an enhanced carry permit, the ability for faculty and staff members at higher education campuses across the state to be able to only notify the law enforcement agency in charge of that higher education campus.
Goon, what's
and all
up,
they
my
had to
brother?
have was that enhanced carry permit. And the dean and the president of
Well,
the
we gotta do it
university
since Goon's here.
were prohibited from knowing if they were or were not. The byproduct of what we saw in for that passage in 2015, consequently the following years, what we saw was an overall reduction in crime on higher education campuses in every category by a minimum of 20%. You can find that information in the campus
Matter of fact, Goon,
crime on campus
they
report
shouldn't
from
try
the
to get me
TBI
for
from
posting stuff for
2017.
flashlights. Post your
This bill
link to your stuff.
is something that I've worked on for a great period of time. The big challenge, though, is the discussion around this bill is dramatically different than what you've
You can't
heard
post
from me
links for
already.
firearms
Facts
or
are
or
that
anything
this
like
bill
that. I'm
is
pretty sure I
100%
can post
permissive.
flashlights.
So much so that not only does the local
Unless
law
YouTube's
enforcement
afraid of the
agency
dark.
have to agree, who has an MOU of understanding with your school, the principal and the director of schools would also have to agree. So in all three would have to be in agreement in order to do that. Even if they didn't agree to do that, then the standards by which someone would be able to carry a weapon in our state are so high based upon the tenets of this law. Those
What's up,
requirements would be you have to have an enhanced carry permit.
Hold on.
You have to be able to resubmit your fingerprints as it relates to TBI. You have to do 40 hours of certification with the law enforcement agency who has the memo of understanding with your local LEA, and you would have to have a background check evaluation, just exactly like those law enforcement agents in your communities are currently SROs, and those as well. If at any point someone doesn't do this or doesn't do well in this, the local law enforcement agency can say no, just like they could say no before. This bill seeks to make the bar so high, but to allow the locals to have the ability to do that it would create a deterrent across our state. This is not new, though, in the nation. There are 32 other states that have similar laws, both red and blue and purple, all across the United States. And those states have also done, like we have in the past, allowed teachers under circumstances and faculty members under circumstances, certain circumstances, the ability to carry a concealed
War, I just
firearm.
sent you something.
There are some prohibitions about after-school activities, so they can't do that there. This is just on campuses. But as a parent of a public school kid, my kids are grown now. One of the biggest questions that people ask me all the time, they ask you, I'm certain, have you done everything you can possibly do to make our schools safe across the state? I believe that this is a method by which we can do that, because what you're doing is you're creating a deterrent. Across our state, we have had challenges as it relates to shootings all across the state. We know, some of us know, that sometimes somebody will go to place A to shoot up a school or do something negative, and they end up going somewhere else because they're deterrent. Mr. Speaker, I renew.
Chairman Williams renews his motion. We have a long list. Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
See something.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a parent of two school-age children, as a victim of school violence, school shooting, I can't with good conscience support
All right,
this.
War.
Feel like it
PLA,
do
what's
much
up,
more
my
harm than
brother?
good, and it just doesn't make common sense. And I'm not alone. Vanderbilt University Child Health poll polled 1,000 parents this past year. 49% of them were actually firearm owners. Rated thing.
Let me see whether I can do something real quick, and maybe this will kind of smooth my connection out a little bit. Let me see. Give me a sec, guys. If I lose connection, I should be. Hopefully. Cross fingers, cross toes, all that. All right, I think I'm still here. Let's see where this smooths something out. I switched to a different channel on my network.
Your study says, do you feel like your schools are safer if the teachers were armed? Only 37% felt that. So parents aren't asking for that. Also, this is really an unfunded mandate. Looked at a Milliman study that, and for those of you who don't know Milliman in the insurance field, they're kind of the gold standard. They make all of the insurance rates and do all the background studies on that. And they showed and looked at all the other legislation passed in other states, polled the schools, and showed that
I saw it when you sent it to me. And
poses significant risk and liability for school systems. From talking to my own school system, they're going to have to put back lots of money to pay for this, for their insurance. In fact, this study showed that between $1,500 and $2,500 was the premium per individual that would choose to bring a gun to school. And then lastly, in some communities such as Kansas, they weren't even allowed to fund this, to even cover these people, even though the legislation passed. And lastly, I think in a real world example, I had a high school football coach who ended up going to another school. He got attacked by one of his own students, senselessly beaten to a pulp. And I think about what would happen. Think about the liability if a student would attack this principal or this teacher, and they were, just beaten unconscious, and that teacher had a gun, and that student was enraged. What happened? I go back to my own situation, my school.
So this situation he's talking about. This coach gets attacked by students, beaten unconscious. What if the teacher had a gun? Well, how about we teach children you can't go beat the coach unconscious? And to be honest with you, if they're beating him that bad, they are using lethal force against him. Why is none of this shit from the left pointed at the criminals and the actual people being violent, or pointed at the people who want to be mass murderers? Everything's pointed at just the gun and the people who carry them. Fucking it's so. And a lot of it's so intellectually dishonest with these people and they only weigh one side of the scale when it comes to guns. Well, if we take these guns away, well, no one will have them. Well, no, we've tried taking things away from criminals. Guess what? They still get them. Well, if we took this and we did this law, well, these people wouldn't be able to use a gun this way. Well, yes, but they also wouldn't be able to use it in self-defense either. And there are way more self-defense or defensive gun uses every single year than there are assaults or homicides with firearms every single year. When you only look at one half of the equation, everything seems like, oh yeah, that makes sense. When you look at both sides of the equation, then you go, holy shit. No, that doesn't make sense. Again, this is where I get to the NPCs, the non-playable characters who absolutely outnumber the rest of us. And that's how you end up with people like this in office who are making laws. It's insanity.
Shooting. 7th grade teacher, another student brought a gun to school and shot a student. What are we doing? Pitting that teacher against shooting a 13-year-old in a very, very awful situation? Overall, I just don't feel like this is going to do good, and I can't support it. Thank you.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative, for your comments. I do, you did mention a little bit about a coach. I thought it was important to say that in this bill, the standards for a faculty member or staff member to carry are much higher than in Florida. However, Parkland, Florida was the most recent one that did a peace officer bill similar to this bill, but the standards weren't as high. They did that in honor of a coach, Aaron Feist, and they call it the Coach Aaron Feist Guardian Program because Coach Feist was the one who was in the hallway at Parkland trying to protect 3 little girls and was killed by the shooter. And he didn't have an opportunity to defend those little girls except for being their shield.
Right back.
All this bill would do, in your case, in your first comments, if in your district and your LEA chooses not to do this, that's their ability to do that. That's what permissivity is. So as it relates to all the other things, my only concern would be is that if they did say that, they would be telling their entire community that the deterrent doesn't exist here, but it may in another LEA. But I appreciate the comments and thank you for your time.
Thank you. So far, any hand I've seen is on the list, so you can continue or not. Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, let's talk about the liability point. Since, you know, we hear it's permissive. So if it's permissive, this teacher is going to decide to take on this liability under federal law. Liability under federal law, schools and teachers could be liable for money damages if an unauthorized person, say another student, gets a hold of a teacher's gun and accidentally or intentionally fires it. Schools and teachers could be liable for money damages if a teacher accidentally fires a weapon. So, you know, let's be realistic. We talked about Parkland. You know, there was a school safety officer there that day. He had a handgun up against a assault rifle, didn't engage. Uvalde, I talked to the state senator at Uvalde. He sued and got all the body cam footage. He said the first 45 minutes of it, he said, I got to hear a lot of police officers talking about, hey, we can't go in there. They got an AR. We can't go in there. What are we going to do? They got an AR. You know, so what we're going to do here, we're going to give somebody a little pop gun to go up against a weapon of war. Does they get in a gun battle? Well, the last national health study on police officers in active fire situation, police officers train more than these few hours we're going to have these teachers trained in an active fire situation. A trained police officer is only 18% accurate in that situation. So how much collateral damage can you accept? I can't accept any children being blown away in a classroom, especially, you know, by their teacher that shouldn't have a gun in there in the first place. So then, you know, the police get there. No, the police don't get there. The tactical team gets there and they go in. Anyone with a gun in their hand, when that tactical team goes in, they're going down. I can assure you they're not going to ask questions. Are you a teacher? Or are you whatever? They're going to get shot. that teacher's going to die. Bottom line. So I hope you're fine with that. If you're fine with the liability, you're fine with the collateral damage of more children getting killed, and then you're fine with a teacher being mowed down by a SWAT team, those are the three situations that you'll be voting for on this.
Yeah, agorize, weapon of war.
I think my learned colleague from Knox County said it best.
And again, ask this dude if he can get any more ignorant. But I'm pretty sure he can. Getting back to earlier kind of situation. Someone comes to the school, they start trying to shoot and murder my students. Am I better off having, I don't know, an ink pen in my hand, a stapler in my hand, a flashlight if I got one in my pocket, or am I better off having a firearm in my hand? I would submit to the class, to all the perps out there, that I would be better off. I would at least have a fighting chance with a gun in my hand, because AR-15 beats scissors every day, but at least with a firearm, I have a fighting chance. Sometimes pistol will beat AR, and ARs aren't these fucking death rays that you fucking idiots think they are.
Teacher who wants a gun in the classroom is exactly the one I don't want to have a gun in the classroom.
So you expect a teacher to put their body in between their students in a mass murder and just get shot the fuck up so that the murderer can then step over the teacher's body and then continue to kill kids, versus a teacher at least being able to make that shooter think twice. That's what so in other words, and this is what it comes down to, you want more unarmed victims so that you can fucking push more dumbass gun laws that aren't going to save a single life. That's what you want.
That is exactly who we don't want having a gun. We don't need Wyatt Earp, who's teaching study hall with a gun.
Oh yeah, man, that thing's
we
nuclear,
don't need
isn't
it.
it? It just mushroom cloud every time you pull the trigger, right?
This is, again, I can't even believe this is the first major piece of gun
Well, the last
legislation
time I shot mine in the target,
that
3
we've
nuns died before
addressed
got pregnant.
since the Covenant tragedy. Just think about that. This is what we're going to do. This is our reaction to teachers and children being murdered in a school. Our reaction is to throw more guns at it. What's wrong with us? I mean,
Yeah, only 4. It was a light
other
load.
states have reacted and done things. We're going in the total opposite direction, the worst direction we possibly could go. We're going to throw more guns at the situation. That is not going to solve the problem. It's going to create more death. And I'm not fine with that. And when you push one of these buttons today, you think about that too. And next time it comes up on the screen, there's another.
Oh, they cut his mic.
That's it, Chairman Williams.
I don't think he
Dude, they do not play
Representative McKenzie
cutting people's freaking mics. Sounds like more blank.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and
I am shooting blanks.
to the sponsor
these days,
first.
bro.
Thank you for properly using the term permissive, unlike some of our other colleagues. So appreciate that. But I just really want to have kind of a dialogue. So I'm not going to say no long speech. So thank you for that. And I get the emotion. I get the need to want to do something. Promise you I do. So couple of questions. In terms of the teacher that goes through the process, what's their process for getting insured or indemnified? Is that per LEA or is that on that person?
Getting
Their
back to the
current
insurance
liability coverage would cover them. It's the only difference is
Let
just
me
like they
post
would
a couple
any other
things.
teacher. In the tenets of the bill, they would have to meet all those standards or check all the boxes as it relates to those 5 standards.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So they'll be covered for that additional, let's call it duty,
Dude, I
for
haven't
having that.
seen
So
Panda post anything.
well, how about the standards of use? Is there going to be a document developed that says you can only pull your weapon on these 8 things or 18 times? Is that something that's in the legislation or will be developed per LEA?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Representative.
I'm going to post a couple channels.
In
The
communicating with
actual
law
turkeys
enforcement
ought to
as
be
it relates
live
to how
right
they
now.
would train these people through the training, which requires that hands-on
'Cause I
training,
know some
what would
people
end
get
up
sick of listening to
happening in
this,
that
but
case is each law enforcement
turkeys ought to be
agency who
live. Y'all
has
can
that
be
memo
going
of
live later.
understanding
Hopefully, I'll
would
catch part of his
fold
chat.
whatever their desires based upon that person's proficiency so that they are involved or not involved or just giving an area of refuge to students to run where they would or doesn't engage or whatever that might be, an active shooter program that would be worked out between the MOU, the law enforcement agency with the MOU and that individual.
Oh yeah,
after their training is done.
and that's where part of this is going to go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'd have to look
that
it
kind of
up
leads me to
again.
the training. I know that
I'd have to look it up again, but there were some issues with some states who decided to allow teachers to be able to get trained and carry, and then the insurance companies had enough pressure put on them through, guess what, Moms Demand, Giffords, Brady, and all them, where the insurance company said, nope, we're not going to carry that school anymore. And don't quote me on it. I think one went to be pretty much self-insured, but yeah, that's where part of this is going to go. Giffords, Moms Demand, Brady, every town, a new town, they already have that in the works for any school system that goes this way. The left, I say it for them, the left is really good at lawfare. And if they can't get something passed legislatively, they're going to do it basically through the courts, just bleeding people dry. It might have been Idaho, Fluff. It might have been. I hadn't thought about it in a while until today when I started hearing this horse shit. And then it was like, yeah, oh yeah, I remember that. And basically these questions, they're just warning you what's coming. It was what it amounts to. Gotta love it.
that in true law enforcement, they go through all sorts of scenarios and periods of time where they train on different things. I know one of those things is how to maintain possession of your weapon while under attack. Because I think
Yeah.
a lot of these
It's called
situations aren't going to be
carrying a
shooters
pendant
coming in. It's going to be an
and keeping
internal
it
to the building
controlled.
thing. Will that be part
Not that hard.
of that 40-hour training in terms of how they can keep their weapon secured and not have it kind of taken away from them
Or
by
even
a
if you're carrying
student or
strong
another
side.
parent?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, sir, that is the case. That's one of the changes that was
And
between
yeah,
the
all you
House
guys
and the
just
Senate
thought of my
version,
white ass
working with
belly.
the Senate sponsor. We wanted to ensure that the maximum amount of safety and understanding with the firearm would be met. So we required that a portion, a majority actually, of that training, that 40-hour training would be hands-on. So it wouldn't be like what happened with an enhanced carry permit where you go through
Yeah, dude, none of us want
days
to
and
do
days of classes and shoot a gun one time.
That's
So
something
the
that-
idea behind that additional training and making sure it's hands-on is to make sure that
That's something, Sam, that these leftists who have no idea what it is to carry a firearm, and to actually be ready to respond to a threat. They have no idea about that, because they think immediately when they strap a firearm on, that's going to be your only answer to a situation. Oh, kid smarted off, pow, shoot him in the face. Oh, kid got an F, oh, pow, pop him in the face. No, the only time you respond with this force is when there is a deadly force that you are having to respond to. Now, if it's just a wrestling match, kid jumps on a teacher, you know, that's a little bit of a grappling deal. How about we teach kids respect? And I don't mind the kid being a smart ass. I definitely don't mind the kid disagreeing. If they are a disruption in the classroom, the teacher should be able to tell them, look, if you don't like it, leave. Bye. Door's right there. You're a high school student, you got a car, jump in your little car and you motor scoot your ass onto somewhere else and allow us, the people who want to be here, to learn. To fix the education system, you are going to have to actually take kids who don't want to be there and allow them to suffer the consequences of their own actions versus just trying to keep them in a classroom and then they become disruptions. This video I saw the other day, this kid just slapping his teacher in the face twice. Now, again, that's not lethal force. That would not give the teacher the authority to pull and shoot. No, do it. I've had students that were disruptions on things. Now, I teach at a college level, so I can tell them, get the hell out of my shop. And I have told them that before. If you don't want to be here, leave. I am not just trying to keep you here. If you don't want to be here, you jump on the first thing, smoke it. I had one get in my face on the shop floor one night because he absolutely could not follow directions. And I just finally told him, you know, basically, you need to sit your ass down. Went on for a little bit. I called him in my office later. Everything kind of calmed down. I called him in my office later. I told him, dude, you know good and well, I could have had these sheriffs come put handcuffs on you for the threats and getting in my face and then the refusal to leave. Yeah. Then why even push it that far, brother? And we talk about some other stuff later, but to say that like every teacher, they're just going to snap out, start powing, and it's fucking ridiculous. The only reason a teacher, it's no different than concealed carrying anybody anywhere else, except you have more charges behind you. The only reason you pull and you even think about going to work is if there is a lethal threat there. And then the teacher needs to be responsible, again, for every bullet that leaves their weapon. And it needs to be that way for cops also. But they never talk about cops, and cops have shot plenty of innocent people, missed their targets, shot into crowds, you name it. There ought to be the response or some liability there for them, the same way it would be for teachers. Yeah, PLA, 100%, man. It's always a projection. It's absolutely always a projection with these people. This is what I would do if I had that power. The rest of us aren't like that. Lizard brain react to everything. Yep.
Person was proficient. If they're found to not be proficient, then law enforcement agency would simply not approve.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'm to do a quick shift into that whole liability insurance piece of it. One, are the LEAs going to be required to submit or let folks know who's carrying their insurance? And what I'm afraid of is if that name gets out there, that parent company, let's call it, nationwide, the parent company might say, hey, this is bad publicity, and pull those policies across the state. So is that something that's going to be secured? And then my last question, on time's running out, is charter schools. Will charter schools have to have their own policies and procedures, or do they fall under the LEA? Now, and listen to those two.
Chairman Williams.
Yes, thank you, Representative. The answer to your question about nationwide or those things, typically,
yes, I hope you
that
took your blood
information is
pressure
not going to
meds,
be
brother.
shared. It has to, the identity of the person who has done the mental health background check, who's done the training, who's submitted their fingerprints, and all those things, that the principal would have to agree and the director of schools would have to agree, but the identity of that person is preserved. That was done in both the 2016 law that's currently on the books regarding
That's a
distressed
good
counties,
question,
and it was
PLA,
done
because it's kind of
as it relates
I don't know.
to higher education campuses. And the reason behind that was if the identity
I
were
don't
to be
think
released,
Tennessee
to these
has
people
mag
would
bans
be,
right now. So in
they're fearful
Tennessee,
that
yeah,
there might
probably.
be a case of hiring and firing decision based upon someone's willingness to do this.
You know, that
I might
11th
add at their
bullet,
own expense.
man, that's
And
what
so
makes you a murderer.
that's what the liability component would be. And I forgot what you're saying.
Charter
Oh, yes. The way the law currently reads, it says the LEA and the law enforcement agency who has MOU of understanding. So if a charter school, technically public school students, LEA, they would have the ability to, under an MOU, do the same thing. But once again, all of them would have to agree.
Martin of Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative, for your years of work on this legislation. Personally, my parents have taught 40 years in public school, so I can vouch that there are
What is it
public
with
school teachers out
Tennessee
there
and
that
bow
have asked
ties,
for this,
Artac?
despite what we've heard. But if you don't mind, can you clarify, is this already allowed in state statute?
Chairman Williams.
Yes, Representative, it is. Since 2016, we did allow it for distressed counties. The number of distressed counties has been reduced since that time, but at the time it was 13 counties.
Representative Martin.
Thank you, Speaker. And the standard compared to what it was currently and what this bill will actually do, is it going to raise or lower that aspect of it?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It would raise the standard from that original statute. Particularly, the most glaring things would be.
So wait a second, and this is where they're going. I didn't hear this earlier. So you're telling me in 13 counties in Tennessee, since 2016, they were distressed counties. In other words, they don't have enough law enforcement to serve as SROs and stuff like that. So since 2016, there have been teachers in those schools caring, and the world didn't end. Dogs, excuse me, dogs and cats aren't living together. Lions and hyenas aren't mating. 2016. So it's been a minute. What, 8 years? And nothing, the world didn't end. There was no teacher who went off the rails and just started capping students because they were all a bunch of freaking numbnuts. Okay.
The mental health background check, as the members may not know this, but there's one of our in our body.
Yeah, sandwiches on eating people.
Had in his district 5 teachers who wanted to become reserve deputies in their county, and through the process of the mental health background check, only one of those 5 teachers passed. And so that level of stringency as it relates to the mental health background check and someone's fitness as it relates to do this is extremely important, and that's why it's in this bill.
Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And finally,
Well, yeah, Sam, and I've talked about it on streams before, and a bunch of other guys talked about it too. When I carry, I am way more likely to try to lower the tone of my voice, to show my hands, to tell people, hey, you know, we don't need to go there. And that's whether it's in a school setting, whether it's in the, everyday setting. I am way more polite, even when I've had people just try to push my buttons. Yeah, because this is the last thing I want to go to. So I'm way more prone to try to resolve a conflict just by talking, trying to calm a situation down, than I am if I'm not carrying. It is very rare these days where I'm not carrying, but there is a distinct difference in my attitude. If I went out, say, did not too long back, doing stuff with kids, all yada yada, left my gun at the house, and I got to run to the store. There's a distinct difference in my attitude, even driving to the goddamn store, from when I'm carrying and when I'm not carrying. And that has to be a conscious decision when you do carry, because that's the last thing you want to do. So you get really fucking polite when you carry. And anybody who thinks you throw on a gun and all of a sudden you got big balls and you can talk shit to anybody, that's a fucking moron. Because I know good and well, if I'm 100% justified drawing this and putting holes in somebody, I still have to go through getting arrested, going through any sort of challenges in the court, whether or not a prosecutor wants to go off the rails and put me in prison, and whether or not they go, okay, this was so freaking cut and dry that nah, we ain't touching it. I'm still going to get my gun taken. I am still getting handcuffs put on me. I am still going to go to jail. I am extremely polite. Yeah, 100% PLA. I know I say it a lot. 100%, 100%, 100%. It drives me nuts when I catch on to things like that. But yeah, a polite society is an armed society. If you realize, and if thugs or these gangsters realize they didn't have a monopoly on force, guess what happens? They'd be real selective about targets. When we look at some of the violent crime that's actually dropped off, what is the thing that's gone up is constitutional carry and gun ownership has gone up. And we have seen drop-offs in some of the violent crime. Now, some of the drop-off in violent crime is because Democrat cities just quit fucking prosecuting it. Screw it. No. That's why you look at states that went to constitutional carry, look at states that have relaxed carry laws, and then you can see that drop in a lot of areas. And then you can kind of do a little bit of math there. When you still look at places like California and others who have this drop in crime, it's not because they have a drop in crime. It's because they just fucking refuse to prosecute it or even charge it. And again, that's one of those numbers games that constantly gets played. That's why dumbasses like me spend hours looking at stuff. And it is better to be tried by 12. I would rather go down shooting, knowing that I was in the right, versus just being an unarmed fucking meat target. It's kind of yeah. I don't want to be the disarmed meat target. And to be serious, I'm going to bring myself up bigger here. There have been, through the years, there have been, 3 different lockdowns that I've been in. One of the last ones at the place I work now, right by one of the main highways out here, there were some inmates that escaped. They locked college down because they thought those inmates might come to the college and try to either steal cars or something to get away. In every single lockdown I've been in, like I said, there's been 3, 4. Every single time, would I have rather had a gun in my hand or a stapler in my hand? Excuse me. I will guarantee you I would rather have a gun in my hand. Now, luckily, nothing's popped off. There's some apartments not too far from the college. About 3 weeks ago, maybe 2, probably closer to 3. And there were some gunshots, 10 o'clock in the morning, popping off over toward those apartments. And where I'm holding classes right now, I just walked in, told my guys, hey, we're going to hang out for a little bit. Make sure everything's locked down. Because you couldn't really tell the way everything spread out. And there were a couple other things that went on, but it wasn't get on the phone, hey, we got to alert everybody. You kind of know the areas. And it was like, okay, that is more than likely something going on in the apartment buildings. Everybody who is close to that can see what's going on, hopefully they inform people. I just want to make sure my people are pulled back and none of my guys are at risk. And it might sound kind of screwy, but I didn't want to jump on 911 because I heard something and then be, oh, well, it was this or it was that, or hell, it was the cops doing the shooting or something like that. But again, it's being aware of what's going on. My guys are safe. Security wasn't, hey, we're locked down, we're whatever. Now, if that goes off and I get the call, hey, security, we're locking down. Yeah, I obviously I want to be able to have something to defend my students at that point. Instead of standing there with my stapler in my hand or my phone or whatever, just hoping to God that the shooter somehow passes us up. The arguments we get from the anti-gun crowd on this are absolutely insane and devoid of any sort of factual reality base.
Is permissive, correct? Again.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is permissive. It has to, all three of those entities have to agree.
Representative Martin.
Yeah. Chess, you got a few years
Members,
on me. Yeah.
I look around, one of the few people that have a child in public school and will spend the next 11 years in public school. I trust my local law enforcement. I trust my director of schools. I trust my teacher. If they believe this is what's right for that specific community and it's permissive and they think that's going to help take care of my child, I fully support this bill. And I thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the sponsor. I'm looking at Section 2, letter G of the bill, where it says that a faculty or staff member who carries a concealed handgun pursuant to subdivision A1 on property owned, operated, or controlled by the school at which the faculty or staff member is assigned shall not, under 2 it says, carry the handgun at the following times and locations: stadiums, gymnasiums, or auditoriums when school-sponsored events are in progress. My question is this: if teachers are not to carry the guns in auditoriums at a school-sponsored event during the school day, where are the guns being stored?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Representative, for the question. In this instance, let's say, for your example, that there was a pep rally, football team had a football game.
Yeah,
that individual
PLA,
would
I
not
was just
be
kind of boiling
allowed
on
to
that
go to
point a
that
little
pep
bit.
rally. The other faculty and staff would be there because they have it concealed on them. They wouldn't be able to participate in that pep rally.
Representative Love.
So my concern is this.
My concern is this: if you trust me to carry in the school in my daily activities, teaching students, instructing, and stuff like that, why would I not be able to carry if we went to an assembly in the auditorium? Why would I not be able to carry at the ball game? So that's it. I didn't catch this earlier because again I was working and trying to listen to this and stream some stuff out. Because you guys already know I'll do that. I'll be at work and be like, hey, this is pretty interesting. And while I'm working and doing stuff, I'll share some stuff out. But yeah, if I can carry in any other situation as the instructor or teacher, and in cases of K through 12, why would I not be able to carry there? Now, and I think he gets to the point here in a second, at least I remember part of where it was going, is it's basically those teachers that are carrying would be the ones who would be excused from being at those events unless they went home, locked their gun up, came back. Yeah. Agorizer, yep. Sorry, lunatic murderer, you have to wait for a pep rally. And how many shootings do we see, if especially if you're paying attention, that happen at sporting events for the schools? Basketball game, baseball game, football game, shooting breaks out. Hell, in Columbus, right across the river from me, one of the bigger games during the year, they quit having it there for at least a year or so because a shooting broke out during that game, high school football games. And of course, it's gang-related horse shit. And they weren't supposed to have guns there in the first place, but oh, look, they're shooting. Oh, fuck me running, man.
Public school graduate, White Creek High School. All the teachers came to the pep rally. all the faculty came because the student to teacher ratio would not allow them all just to, some to be there, some to stay in the classroom. My concern is this, that if you're holding some teachers back, then in that process, who decides who is bringing their handgun to school that day? Let's say you have 100% of the teachers say, I want to be the one carrying the handgun. Then who stays in the classroom and who goes to the pep rally at that moment?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, even with the lower standard of what's necessary on higher education campus, to give you an idea, 3.13% of faculty and staff members across the entire state are actually carrying on higher education campuses. Based upon the high bar here, there's a very low probability that even 1/10 of 1% would do this. So under the premise of 100% of them would do it, it's just not possible, because unfortunately, based on my other example, most wouldn't pass the psychological evaluation fitness test. But in the example you do give, I know that in my son's school and my daughter's school, when they were there, not all the teachers went to those events. If that is in fact what happened to yours, and in fact some statistical improbability that would be all of them, then the principal and the LEA would have to work out that certain members of the teachers that were carrying in your 100% rule would not carry concealed the day of the pep rally.
Representative Love.
Using your example, if, let's say, a lower threshold of teachers do carry the weapons, and those are not the ones who are allowed to go to the auditorium for the pep rally or the school event, when the assailant comes into the school, if they head to the auditorium, then the purpose of the bill is defeated, because there's no one in the auditorium with a hand shoot somebody. Then the bill is moot at that point, because the very persons you're asking to carry handguns to protect students can't be in the same space to protect students, because they're in the classroom with their handguns waiting for the students to come back. And that's my concern about the bill, is that we talk about all these logistical items, it's going to be very difficult. And I understand your intent, to try to provide more safety, but those are my concerns, is that when we talk about who can't carry where they can, it's going to be a loophole in there somewhere, because the assailant is not proposing to assault the school based upon the teacher's schedule or who will be available to be there. So thank you, Speaker. Thank you, sponsor.
Chairman Williams, ma'am. Very good. Representative Johnson of Knox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No disrespect to anyone. I just can't stand up. A little scooter accident. Okay. I guess I have a lot of things to think about here. As someone who was actually in a classroom for 27 years and understand what the day's like, what happens, what goes on. Teachers are already doing 4 jobs, and they're paid poorly for one. They're a teacher, they're a nurse, they're a social worker, and they're a counselor. And now we're
saying take on another job. What we are saying is, God forbid a shooting did happen at your school. Here's a way to defend your students, and not just you being a meat target and getting shot to death trying to shield your students. Actually giving them a tool to do their job in the first place, which is protect those kids. This lady in the classroom for 20-something years, she should have been living underneath a bridge threatening fucking billy goats for 20-something years. I mean, think about it, man. There are a hell of a lot of teachers out there. I know quite a few others. We carry in every other aspect of our life. Every other aspect. Why should we be barred from carrying it in one of the most restricted situations where shootings do happen because people want to make mass murderers fucking celebrities. Why would you stop us? If you trust us with everything else, with education, and yeah, we can be counselors. There's tons of different jobs we do. I've had very personal conversations with people. Counsel them on grades, you name it. I care about my guys, and they'll tell you I call them my guys, whether it's a female student, male student. Those are my guys. Why would you not allow me to have a tool to protect my guys if someone ever came in there trying to do them harm? I'm sorry, lady. You want to be a fucking meat target and just get shot to shit? That's on you. I would rather try to save my students' lives. Reason I have a med kit on me, blowout kit, every single day of the week. This is my bag. This blowout kit's with me every single day. Tourniquets, chest seals, nasal pharyngeal, Israeli bandages, you name it. Shit to pack a wound and keep blood in a container. That's what's in that bag. If I got that, why the hell would I not carry something to put holes in something that is trying to harm my students? Sorry you're ignorant, lady. You might have been a great teacher. I don't know what you taught. I don't care. Don't project your fucking stupid bullshit on the rest of us.
Be school security. But we're going to continue to pay you less than you made 10 years ago. First of all, I cannot believe
PLA,
folks are
Uvalde
even
should have
considering
shot that out of the
this.
sky.
And then you're saying, well, take your pistol up against an AR-15 and multiple other weapons. Again, you were asking the ridiculous. Vast majority of teachers and parents do not want this legislation.
I really hope this lady was not teaching any class that had anything to do with critical thinking skills. If she was, it kind of explains where some of the generations are at right now. Because what would I rather have in my hand? Scissors or a gun if someone's coming at me with an AR-15? I said it earlier. AR-15 beats scissors every time. AR-15 doesn't beat pistol every time. And it's not about a teacher going out and playing Rambo. If I can get my guys out of the building, we're unassing that joint. We're gone. If it's a situation where I can't get my guys out, I pull my guys back to a restricted point where there's only one entry, maybe two, depending on the classroom setup. And then anything that comes through there that is not a cop gets shot in the face. And by not a cop, I mean they're actually actively shooting at my students. It's not some other teacher walking in wanting to borrow paper. These people. Fluffy. That probably ain't far from the truth, brother. That probably ain't far from the truth. And for those of you who've never heard the Billy Goat's gruff, go look her up.
Legislation. Absolutely do not want it. You do understand there were 2 staff members at Covenant who were armed to be security, to act as security. Don't forget that. And don't compare us to higher ed. Higher ed is not mandatory, but K-12 is mandatory. It is not the same thing. If you're going to compare these two places, you really are demonstrating that you don't understand what goes on in a school. Schools, I hear so often up here that schools are failing.
Okay.
This legislature is failing our schools. They are failing our teachers. They are failing our kids who stood outside here and begged for us to take care of them. And this is even more dangerous than doing nothing.
Oh, I think I remember part of this from earlier.
We need to stop the guns before they get to the school. They should never get to the schoolhouse door. You all want to bring the gun battle into the classroom.
No, lady. Two things. I gotta let it play. But two things, lady, right there. Ma'am, sir, whatever you are. One, let's get over this idea. We can just stop the guns. The guns are there. Over 400 million of them in the United States. The guns are there. There's no stopping those. Your magic gun control signs aren't blessed by Gandalf with some magic rune that stop a gun from coming in the school. So that's out. So the only option you have is having people ready to respond to a shooter, which, if the teacher so chooses, since they're the front fucking line, they should be able to. And yeah, Chess, I'd have to look up the case, but yeah, it was, they went all the way up to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court affirmed law enforcement is there for law enforcement. They are not there for your personal security. So law enforcement could stand there. They did it in Uvalde and watch people get shot, and they are not going to be held accountable because they are not constitutionally required to protect you. They're required to enforce laws, but they are not required to be your personal fucking security. Yeah, +5. So yeah, I mean, +2 for that, +5 for a safety sign. Yeah, I know gun-free signs don't work. There are plenty on businesses that I walk into a couple times a week, and I blow right past them. Hadn't stopped shit. They are, however, like a freaking open for business sign to a wannabe mass shooter who just wants to stack up a bunch of innocent bodies. And I tell people all the time, you got to kind of gauge, your your situations. But like in businesses, if someone noticed that I was carrying, I went to reach for something high on a shelf, my shirt came up, my gun shows. Karen notices. She freaks out. Oh, he's got a gun. Okay. The worst that's going to happen to me initially is I'm going to get trespassed. They're going to tell me to leave. And I'm going to walk my little short, fat hobbit ass right on out that damn store. No harm, no foul. I'm out. On the other hand, if someone did, because like shootings in grocery stores, if someone did come in there, oh, it's a gun-free zone, and went to try to stack bodies, and then I have something to protect my family with, something to protect other people in the store with. I'm not trying to play Rambo, but I'm smart enough to realize I am better with that in my hand and being able to engage somebody than jazz hands. Gun-free zones, jazz hands. Look at the dude in the mall. And what was it, last year or year before? He's in the food court. He's got his gun on him. Yes, they have gun-free zone signs. He walked right past him. He should have. And God bless him that he did, because the other guy brought his AR in, put it together in the bathroom, and then went to come out and then start capping innocent people, and he drilled the dude. The guy with the handgun killed the dude with the AR. Happened. And he stopped a mass shooting. Yes, that kind of stuff happens. And that gets on another rant, because the government suppresses the number of times where a private citizen has stopped a mass shooting or a wannabe mass shooter, or they stopped the mass shooter before they could stack even more bodies. They absolutely suppress those numbers. John Lott, crime resource prevention or research prevention. Follow him because he he fucking breaks these numbers down way better than I can.
Why do you want to bring the gun battle into the classroom? Heard one of your members today believe that people who were dangerous should not get access to weapons. At the same time, he was running a bill to get rid of red flag laws.
Yep. I've seen a couple things like that.
Let's start making sense here. This is unbelievable. This is something that the people overwhelmingly don't want. It is something that we have seen problems with. You talked about other states have passed it. Let's talk about that. Ingram Middle School, a school resource officer left a firearm unattended in the bathroom where it was found by a student.
All right. Now, notice something, and I'll ask all you guys, so pay attention to this, but I'll ask all you guys, and I mentioned it earlier. What are the similarities behind everything that she mentions? There are two similarities. So pay attention because she's fixing to get into a bunch of horse shit. And yeah, John knows his shit. He's a guy I really want to interview and actually do a serious interview with. But yeah, he's a dude I definitely want to talk to.
Student. Pleasant Grove Independent School. A school district employee's firearm fell out of his holster onto a school bus seat. The firearm was later found by a student. Whitney Middle School. A teacher left her gun unattended in a teacher's workroom. The teacher served as school guardian and was authorized to have a gun on campus. Sims Academy of Innovation and Technology. A student found a gun and bullets inside an unattended purse on a school bus. Officers determined the purse belonged to a school bus driver employed by the school district. A vice principal left her gun unattended in a restroom on campus. The vice principal served as a school guardian and was authorized to have a gun on campus. A teacher was arrested for bringing a gun to school and keeping it in her bag. A substitute teacher was arrested after telling another staff member that he had a gun in his briefcase. The district transportation director left her pistol in a small unlocked plastic case near her desk when she went to the restroom. Two first graders who were left alone in the office accessed the gun. A school counselor was arrested after having sexual contact with a teen. In the process of her arrest, a loaded handgun was found in her purse. A gun was found in an unattended bag in the media center of a high school. The bag belonged to an employee of the school. A school resource officer and retired police officer left an unloaded, holstered weapon on the counter of the bathroom. You all, there are dozens of these.
My brother?
This is a horrible idea. You were warned.
So there are two commonalities between everything she just went through. One, cops or school resource officers, and two, off-body carry. So I submit to you, how about we just make sure that teachers are carrying on body, and then we train resource officers not to lose their damn guns. Simple fix. It's just off-body carrying resource officers. Resource officers, cops, they're highly trained and leave their gun in a bathroom. Okay. Yet more proof that the average person, conceal and carry person, is way more skilled than your average cop. And especially these days when you've so demonized police, and trust me, I don't agree with them on a lot of shit, but when you've so demonized them where all of your experienced guys are leaving and you're getting the bottom of the fucking barrel. And then they're so bad they can't be on the street, so you put them in a school. It's How do you call her? Fucking Billy Goat's Gruff over here. But no, it's the gun.
Chairman Williams.
You were warned.
No,
All right.
she didn't ask.
Representative Hicks of Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Sponsor. I appreciate your patience as I ask us a couple questions that you may have already addressed. The first thing, let me ask this, and I wrote these down way before you gave your presentation on the bill. Does this require or force any district or LEA to allow guns in schools?
Chairman Williams.
No, sir, it does not.
Representative Hicks.
Does this force any teacher or staff member to carry guns on school property?
Yeah, it's about that time, Ag, isn't it?
No, sir, it does not.
Representative Hicks.
Does this allow local leaders, i.e. our sheriffs, our superintendents, our police chiefs, principals, to make decisions that best fit the needs of their individual school districts?
Chairman Williams.
Yes.
Representative Hicks.
And then part of the debate has been to opt out some of the counties. And so my question is, with this particular bill, which allows these folks to be able to make the decisions, in essence, they can exclude themselves all the way down to the actual school districts. So can counties opt out? I would say yes. Can LEAs opt out? Absolutely they can. Just your comments on that.
Chairman Williams.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Just to hit it, because I saw Ag's chat and didn't see Z's. Yeah, dude, normally you can Google it real fast. There will be beekeepers in your area, but what it is a hive. Typically, a hive is splitting. It gets too big for where they're at, so they're just splitting. If you see like a big beard of bees, just bees covered over bees, it's honeybees. Absolutely not aggressive. Don't go over there and slap them with a tennis racket or anything. Typically, a day or so, they'll figure out where they want to be and they're gone. If they're bearded, what we call bearded up, what it is all the worker bees, drones, and everything are surrounding the queen. And you can Google someone who does honeybees, and they'll come out there and take them off your hands, put them in a hive, give them a home, and then keep them rocking and rolling. Seeing loose everywhere. Loose everywhere, depending, because I've dealt with swarms that were probably hundreds of thousands of bees. Just either bearded up or hell, there's a big oak tree that sits at the end of my house right over here. That had a big hollow in it and had a massive hive in it, and it's 40 foot in the air. But they swarmed probably 2 years ago, and they were probably 400,000 bees around my place. Usually absolutely not aggressive. Like I said, if it's actual honeybees, then best thing to do, especially if they're not gone within a day, is just look up someone who does honeybees in your area. Typically, almost all over the country, you'll find someone local that does honeybees, and just have them come out there and collect them. Don't do anything crazy with them. I would also inspect, believe it or not, I would also, especially after that hive's gone or after that swarm's gone, inspect your house, all around your house, to make sure no bees are coming into the walls of your house or soffit boxes or anything like that, because they will find homes in soffit boxes and walls, around windows, you name it. Any kind of void they can get into, they'll build a hive. I did a house. Oh man, I think I removed either 6 or 8 55-gallon bags full of hive and honeycomb from that place. They came in right by a window, went through the ceiling. They were halfway down a wall. I had to cut all that stuff out and remove all the honeycomb and hive. In the outdoor fireplace. If it's a big swarm, which I assume you know what a honeybee looks like, but if it's a big swarm, get in touch with a beekeeper near you and let a beekeeper grab them up. Even if they're in something, typically, depending, a beekeeper can snag them, get the queen, and then remove the whole hive. Would be the best thing to do. I work for a company, that same company where I removed all those bags of honeycomb. They used to make us kill them, and I've killed some big ass hives. Night Strike, what's going on, my brother? Beeline for that button. Thank you, my brother. Matter of fact, hell, Night, if you ain't doing nothing. If I can figure out my ass from hole in the ground. Since we listened to Tennessee, and God knows you like the pain, you've hung out long enough. Mike McClune, my brother, what's up? In the chimney? Yeah, if they've got a board, if it's a big swarm of bees, typically with honeybees, you'll see, 40, 50, 60, 100 and something bees coming back and forth at one time. And they're pretty easy to distinguish in between, like a wasp or something like that. If it's a wasp or a hornet, kill the shit out of them. But if it's a honeybee, call a hive keeper and let a hive keeper come knock, or not knock them out, but have a hive keeper come collect them. What's up, Knight?
Not much. I just got back from a local event here in town.
Oh shit, yeah, man.
It's full disclosure. I live in the city of Walterboro. That's just right outside of Charleston, and that's where they had the Murdaugh trial.
Yeah.
It's where they had that, because I went and did a video of me going around the courthouse when everybody was out there. Anyways, usually every April 23rd they do a Taste of Walterboro, where a bunch of the local restaurants get together and they hold an event, and everybody goes and gets the little bit off of every table that the restaurants provide, because it's a catering type deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am full of like pork, beef, shrimp, gumbo, all the good Southern food, and then all the other stuff.
Dude, I thought about doing gumbo tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it sometime in the next few days, but
Cajun rice and sausage.
Yeah, we did some rice dish that my wife cooks.
Yeah.
Last night.
And
it was like, I got to do something else tonight.
And Taste of Walterboro is part of the Rice Festival. And the Rice Festival happens every year here in Walterboro, and where they just, downtown is basically blocked off, and they got stalls and stuff for the kids. They got everything.
Sounds like a good time.
It's about the only time every year besides the fair that I can find, a place in town that does bloomin' onions and funnel cakes.
Ooh, bloomin' onions.
I can get a bloomin' onion, I can get funnel cake, I can get elephant ears. That's the only time.
That question. There were multiple amendments from my
onion.
colleagues on the other side of the aisle who wish to have those removed, or have their communities removed. Under the current language of the bill, all they have to do is say no, and they can be removed. That's the definition of permissivity. And in this case, they could, if their local law enforcement agent, their local school director of schools, or their local principal says no, then they're in fact this deterrent that I hope to achieve is removed from their school.
Well, then get a hunting license.
9 years ago when I ran, one of the biggest things that I ran on was local control. And as this bill came across and I saw it get filed, I thought, oh boy, here we go. Because I'm going to tell you, I had some reservations about it. But now that we're putting it back in the local control, where it is closest to the governing bodies that actually are closest to the people, that's what's going to allow me to cast a yes vote for this today. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Representative Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Representative,
I know for a fact that you and every member on this House floor want to do something about this tragedy, this plague that's killing our kids, killing unsuspecting citizens. We all want to do something. I know also that in our haste that we make waste and we don't know what to do, solve the problem. We really want to solve this problem.
You guys don't want to solve this
I think
problem.
every man and woman on this floor wants to solve this problem.
No, they don't want to solve the problem. They just want to make legal citizens illegal.
That we take home with us, go to bed, sleep at night, and try to figure out what to do.
Yes.
And you have to do something.
So they can replace us with border jumpers.
SROs. Do we have them in every school in the state?
This dude, if I'm remembering right.
No, in finance, we discussed this year, this
He
body
jumps off in a
unanimously
ditch.
approved to fund an SRO in every school in the state. And unfortunately, because of the inability to find law enforcement agencies, particularly in rural communities that are qualified to do that, there are more than 300, I think, that of those positions that are 500 that are currently unfilled across the state.
Representative Towns.
So if we had SROs, a complement of SROs for all our schools across the state, would we need this bill?
Chairman Williams.
Yes.
To answer your question directly, I do think we need this bill. I think the components of this bill is not about an SRO or an armed faculty member who has met all these requirements. The goal here for us is to be able to create a deterrent where there's a sign out in front of the school that some student's going to walk by or some family member is going to walk by every day and see that there might be somebody on this campus that's carrying other than the SRO, so that we would create a deterrent. Because we all know that the deterrent is probably the greatest value that we can possibly add at this point, because even in our best of intentions, it'd be very difficult to keep our kids completely secure, even if we had 5 SROs.
Well, we've done SROs in schools forever. We've done gun-free zones forever. And they haven't stopped shit.
Yeah. But, it's just that for those that don't know, or those that don't understand, don't know the actual definition, SRO is school is the name of position. It's called school resource officer. Usually, it's either and it's sometimes also called the truant officer.
Yeah, I haven't heard them call that in a while, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but they're there to ensure that the kids are going to school and that the kids are safe, and that anyone going in and out of the building are who they say they are and are supposed to be there. Okay, that's the job. For those that don't know, because they are throwing around acronyms instead of saying the whole word. and unfortunately, I'm a stickler for letting everyone know what the definition is.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that, because it's when we talk about SROs, and we hit it quite a bit earlier in it, but just to remind everybody, that's your school resource officer. And I have to find an article that was posted today. It may have been by John Lott. That was basically talking about a lot of your school resource officers. Again, I talked about it a little bit ago. Were basically police officers that they no longer wanted on the street, or police officers that weren't good enough to be on the street. So they just used schools as a dumping ground to ship these guys in.
And unfortunately, those kind of people is what Fluffy Bunny is referring to.
Yes.
Because as we saw in one instance, the guy just watched him do it and ran away.
Yes.
I don't think that was Parkland. I think that was another place, but either way, I'll be honest. If I was a school resource officer, not only would I have a sidearm, I'd also have an AR-15 lying around. So not even lying around or stored somewhere I could easily get to it in case of this kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, it doesn't seem the other problem we have in this country is that the Democrats went on during the pandemic. They went on a tirade of defund the police, and the reason why they have like 380 odd positions that aren't filled is, as far as school resource officers, is because they defunded the fucking police.
Yes.
I'm sorry I'm getting worked up. It's just it's mind numbing. It is severely mind numbing.
Night Strike. You know my streams are all about getting worked up, right?
I know, I know, but
Jess comes to the streams instead of doing stress tests.
I know, but I feel the need to apologize anyways. All right, because it's me.
You are a lot more polite than I am.
I'm sorry you guys have to deal with me, but just get over it.
Yeah, Knight's a hell of a lot more polite than I am.
In every school because the hearts of men are broken in a lot of cases, particularly those who would go and shoot up a school.
President Towns.
No question about that. The hearts of men are broken in this community. However, we are comfortable as citizens with police officers. That's our
I got to hit this real fast.
Not a teacher having the capacity to carry a gun. We're more familiar with that. We're more acceptable.
Z, if you have honeybees, a beekeeper will come out and get those bees at no charge to you. And get that hive. There are plenty of beekeepers out there who will do that, no charge to you. They will come get them, no charge, and take them off. So yeah, don't think about, if it's honeybees, I got to pay this for this, or I got to pay that for that. No, a beekeeper will come get them for free of charge. I haven't seen a state yet where a beekeeper wouldn't come do that. Now, if it was wasps or hornets or something like that, load up a sprayer full of Dawn dishwashing liquid, watered down, of course, and hose them down. It's a done deal.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bee that got caught, got itself caught inside of my house the other day. I just went and did all the old disposable Solo cup and piece of paper and let them outside.
Yeah,
because I'll kill a wasp all day long because those things they have no purpose. Other than
and hornet, well, they have a purpose, but
they have no purpose other than to attack people and things, and I don't need that.
They tend to be really bitchy bastards, and they can sting a lot.
And I just let the bee out because it was just a normal honeybee. Okay, because if it's a normal honeybee, I'm gonna let them go. But if it's like a bumblebee or like a big wasp, sorry, but I can't.
Bumblebees are mean.
They are mean, so I can't let that one live.
Yeah.
A police officer, state trooper, or someone in that capacity that has had adequate training for maybe an extended period of time. It gives us a certain level of comfort. Does it solve the problem? There again, 100%, no, it doesn't. But the citizens are interested in more safety. They feel better probably with SROs, police officers, because we have police officers at all our major events. We feel more comfortable with that. So I'm saying that we need to buck up as a state, and we need to hire these SROs, spend the money, offer incentives, and get the SROs in our school systems. People that are trained and better. Now, there have been a lot of great things said in terms of us being able to think about what the dire consequences can be if something happens.
Because if you're talking about the SROs here, big boy, but your girlfriend over there, Billy Goats Gruff, just listed a few cases where SROs left their guns in bathrooms and everywhere else. I'm sorry. It's someone carrying on body, because that was two things. It was off body carry and SROs leaving guns everywhere. And I'm saying it kind of blowing it out a little bit. Someone carrying appendix, someone carrying strong side, someone carrying on body who actually cares about life is not leaving their gun in a bathroom or on a bus. And here's a question. So she mentioned the one case where the person was on the bus or where it was, and their gun fell out of their holster. Night Strike, would you carry a holster where your gun could just fall out of it?
I do not.
No, and neither would anybody who's halfway competent with a firearm.
No. You want it snug in the firearm. You want it snug in the holster, but you want it snug to the point where you can pull it out and use it whenever you need to.
Yes, you want retention. So why? These people, they play these fucking games with arguments where it's like, we're always right. No, you're fucking idiots.
A student, and this, children are very curious. If a student actually goes into a pocketbook, a purse of a teacher who's in the men's room, especially, or in the ladies' room, especially, men wear it around their hip. They may have it in their purse and get that hardware out of their pocketbook.
I think this dude is really genuinely
And that
confused.
student actually does some damage.
He may be,
about the
he may
trauma
be
that happened with that
legally
student
retarded.
and that child and that
I believe
teacher.
so.
That's real trauma that you probably, as a child, will never live down to school either.
No, the real trauma is listening to you try and
in
make
the heat
a
of battle,
make a
if an officer comes into the school
yes,
and a man is standing there holding a gun, he doesn't know who it is. The first somebody that sees him with that gun, he's going to drop him, more than likely. We'd hate to say that would happen, but that probably is going to happen because it's so quick, it's so furious, and you think that's the shooter, but that's the teacher. Case in point, the teacher may have to shoot his own student.
In the face.
There's a possibility. Now, all these are what? Unintended consequences that can happen. I think that if we do a bill where we had the input of everybody, the parents, the people here, both sides of the aisle, we may come up with a better deal. There again, I know we're all trying to do something that's going to save our kids, but we need to figure out how to do something a lot better.
So you'd rather have the
than
kids
what
die.
makes everybody
It's
really
fine.
upset. Thank you,
Fine.
Speaker.
Just be honest with us. You want the kids to die.
Thank you,
Just
Mr.
be honest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative.
They need
The
the bodies.
truth of the matter is that
control,
this
man.
bill is far and away
Yes.
different than the first bill I filed 3 years ago. I've met with multiple parents from Nashville to Putnam County to Memphis, and kids even today, law enforcement agencies across the state and LEAs to
Yeah,
make
Warsaw,
sure
jump in, brother.
that we could do everything we could do to set the bar as high as we possibly can and
You still got
still
the link.
create an environment where we can keep kids safer and create a deterrent for our schools. Because currently it's just one of those gun-free zones where people know they can go there and take advantage of folks. And so I appreciate your questions and your comment.
Representative Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chairman Williams, for bringing this. And we all know that you have worked for a long time on this, and you've worked with passion. And again, the concern being safety of our children. We are being blamed for.
So I've watched this guy in, God, I don't know how many hearings. I don't think he was born in Tennessee. I don't think he's a native Tennessean.
He doesn't
but
sound
he has
like
a
one.
better grasp. Yeah, he has a better grasp on the Constitution from what I've seen in hearings with him, and a better grasp on common sense than a hell of a lot of the other people sitting in there that were born in Tennessee. I mean, if he was born in Tennessee and kept that accent, I want to know where he grew up. I need to go visit that joint.
Putting guns in schools, but the purpose of it is to protect our children, and that is often forgotten. The information about this bill in the media and among my visitors at the office has been just misinformation to a staggering degree. As I drive in the morning and listen to my local public radio,
You guys in
I have
Tennessee that
to
are voting
really
for this
concentrate
guy,
on my
you
driving,
need to make sure he
because
stays
it's
in office.
bothersome to see that it repeated again and again that we are going to make the teachers carry guns. We really, that's very common despite the fact of it's voluntary. And to clarify for some of my residents and friends, we use the word permissively all the time, but I want to clarify that means that you can participate in this program or not participate. That is permissive to us. LEA means the school board. So if our demonstrators here, our visitors here, and we are grateful for them coming, if they do not want guns in their schools, they should really be going to their school board, their principal, their director of schools, and saying, we don't want it. Really, those are the people that hold the key and will make the decision whether that school will participate or not participate. And that is what we call permissive. It is also well known that in the state of Tennessee, isn't it true that private schools can have or do have at this time the programs that there are armed teachers on their grounds. Is that true?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Title 39, it allows for both to set up their own. We passed it many years ago. Matter of fact, when I first got here, and then in 2018, also passed the bill that was discussed earlier, where it allowed for distressed counties in our state in order to do this.
How you doing, Coop?
Representative Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we have had that trial or experiment for quite a while, and we have not seen any untoward incidents, have we?
Chairman Williams.
No, sir, we haven't.
Representative Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for clarifying that. The matter of liability, one person very passionately questioned me about it and said that insurance companies will seek out the teacher who is carrying the gun and not cover them. Well, we have taken precautions to not to reveal their identity. And again, this is misinformation.
Yeah,
the
Fluffy, it
purpose
is.
of it is to protect our children and create a deterrent. We have seen
I'm gonna throw
frequently
Dark's
a
chat
sign by a
in the-
house
Dark's
that says
channel in the
this
chat.
property protected by this
'cause I'm not
alarm
gonna go
service.
too much
and
longer,
that has
but
been proven to be
Dark
a
will be
deterrent.
going live here
And
in
that's
just a
what
little
we are
bit.
trying to create. I would like to ensure my constituents who are very concerned
So
about
is this guy
bill
Indian?
that once again, our school board can choose not to
That's what it sounds like.
participate, and then we have nothing to worry
First time
about
in
if
history
we
I've ever
choose
seen
so.
an Indian
I
side with
hope they
us.
will choose to do that because it will be a deterrent and it'll protect our
I
children.
wouldn't say it's
Thank
well.
you,
I've seen it before.
Chairman Williams. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But like Fluffy said, it's amazing to see someone like I said, I guarantee that dude was not born in Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's
Sponsor,
amazing to
just
see
quickly,
someone like that
thank you. Thank you for the work you've done the
respects
last
our
3 years
rights
on the
more
bill.
than
Thank you for working with stakeholders. Thank you for
people who
taking
were
the
born
feedback
here.
from this body. And now 3 years later, here you are presenting this bill, working to make Tennessee schools and children safer. I want to get absolute clarity. So in
He's one of
2016,
them
many
white
of us in this
Supreme
body
pizzas,
voted
Ag.
to allow teachers in distressed counties to carry without notification to law enforcement and without any restrictions on them, such as 40 hours training and some of the other things you provided in this bill, correct?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To clarify your comments, not all true. It did require the 40 hours of training and the law enforcement agency, the principal and the LEA, the director of schools had to know, but the fingerprints, the mental health background check, and the enhanced carry permit were not a requirement at the time.
How about we do a mental health?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the clarification. Have there been any incidents or any shootings resulting from the law we passed in 2016?
Chairman Williams.
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, as someone who represents Knox County, we are blessed with schools that have an SRO in every school. My largest high school, we have 4 SROs in our high school. And so I can't relate to some of you in rural communities. I believe the number was just mentioned, 500 SRO positions not being filled. We have to take every step possible to ensure that our rural communities have the resources they need and the protection they need for our children and our schools. And so this takes that step. I know there's one member in here in particular who talked about it would take 20 minutes for law enforcement to get to his kid's school. That's completely unacceptable for a school to be without an SRO and no protection of any kind. So again, thank you so much for running the bill. Thank you for the intent behind the bill, and I look forward to supporting it.
Chairman Williams.
No. Thank you, Speaker.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
So this is where they're actually going to vote on passing the bill itself.
Previous questions being called. Obviously, there's
And of
objection
course you
from the
hear
board. All those in
Mom's
favor of
demand
previous
in the
question,
gallery
vote aye when
going
the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
It gets a little spicy.
Aye,
right
66,
after
30
this,
days.
Actually,
Previous question prevails. We are voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1325 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no.
and the
As every
common
member
mommies
voted,
go
does any member
wild.
wish to change their vote? God. Mr. Clark, please take the vote.
Oh, it gets way worse, man. It gets worse.
Coop, remember I told you these
68,
people are
28 nays, 2 present, outvoted.
Senate Bill 1325, having received a constitutional majority, I declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled.
All right. So again, just to kind of get things back.
Why
in the
aren't
box
those
a little
people
bit,
escorted out of the
this
building
already
by
passed-
security?
They're
Because
starting.
supposed
They're going to start to get them out.
They're gonna.
Yeah,
Because either they're there to observe and shut up, or they get escorted out of the building.
Oh, like I said, this gets way spicier.
They're not allowed to talk unless the body allows them to say something.
Exactly.
That's how it goes when you go and watch the Senate or the House.
They are obstructing an official proceeding. Doesn't that mean they need to be handcuffed, jailed, thrown in prison for years and
wait
not given?
If they're obstructing even local government, is that treason?
Yeah, probably.
It could be treason.
But yeah, this gets way spicier. So, but
Oh,
so
boy.
this passed the Senate. This is the House. It should go to the governor now. But watch or listen, because it's a little bit to how these people lose their ever-loving minds. It is kind of juicy, and I do kind of, sweet tooth and everything.
State troopers, please clear the gallery on both sides. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2936 for Chairman Faison, relative to families' rights and responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
They try to go
Faison,
on
you're
with business,
recognized.
but
Are this saying blood?
Yeah.
Oh, funny. The same group of people that are preaching pro-Palestine.
Thank you, Mr.
And see,
Speaker.
there's Jones
I move
videotaping,
to
right?
substitute
I didn't
we
get
have
to
a
see
point
that
of
earlier.
order. We have a point of order.
Oh my God, not this guy again.
Yes, him. You already know, Warsaw.
Yeah, I'm well aware of this guy. My God.
I didn't get to watch this earlier. I got to
Todd,
listen to
you're
something. I didn't get to watch it.
Thank you,
By the way,
Mr.
this
Speaker.
guy's a friend of
I call Representative Jones out of order for filming on the House floor. Rule 19 violation.
That's a proper motion, properly seconded. Is there objection? We're on the board. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote
It's
no.
fixing to be. The time was up in the comment. Should be right in the front.
Ooh, that's way too many yeses. That's way too many yeses. Oh boy. That's way too many yeses.
Someone
Mr.
gets
Clark,
accused
take
of
the
being
vote.
physical during this shit.
70, 18 nays, 1 present, not voting.
Motion passes. Chairman Faison, you're recognized.
Rule 19 violation.
Yeah, Coop, the guy with the phone, that's a friend of David the Hawk.
Representative Clemens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Clemens up at the back, not there, up here. Point of order. Point of order's up here, sir. Point of order's up here. No, point of order's up here first. No, first. No, sir.
What happens when you let Marxists try to take over?
Also, when you have stupid, uneducated youth that's doing that shit too.
You mean people your age,
yeah.
Warsaw?
I'm talking people behind my age. People that are like in their 18, 19 years old.
No, most of these people doing this are like in their mid to late 20s.
Hey, trust
Not
me. Look at
everybody,
this. Hold
but-
on. Look at this. Most of the people doing this are younger, but look at my brother right here. That's an older dude. There's another dude that was back here and her. That are
All we
both
see is the
older.
video.
And
Well, look at
when I'm
the-
saying the people behind me, nice
my
right,
brother right
talking
here.
People just got out of high school.
Yeah.
Old girl right here. She's at least in her 60s. This dude right here, he's at least 60s. You know, Jones and what's his face or Dollar Store Malcolm X are
20s,
both in their
20s
20s.
or 30s.
Yeah. So it's not just the age, it's the ideology. Now, the ideology is worse with the younger generation, but those cats are still there.
Yeah.
And I got a couple more minutes and I got to bail. I'm going to try to let a bunch more of this play, but yeah, it's you can see, man, you can damn near look at the lineage from the older radicals to the super radical younger guys when you watch this stuff.
Also, there's the same people like from Brady that you're dealing with, too.
Oh yeah, Brady's tits deep in most of this.
Brady
not enough,
and
not
Mom's
enough
Demand.
tits. Not enough tits.
Brady, Mom's Demand, Every Town, Giffords.
Then there's Vaughn.
Those are just saggy tits.
Oh yeah, it smells like cats and boxed wine.
Hold on. I do like a good card Bordeaux.
I would like to take some of the boxed wine that I've seen and run it through the still and see what I can produce with it.
What's are you murdering a moose over there or something?
I don't know whether he's chewing through the bag and forgot to open it or what.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Mute yourself, dude.
Hey, forgive me. I got a mic on my right side. I thought it was on my left side. It's actually on my right side. Sorry.
It sounds like you're trying to murder a moose over there. Stop it.
Yo, you know what? Let's add it to the stream. Why not we?
Well, I mean, if you got it on camera, sure. Why the hell not?
Look at Fluffy. Oh, for the comment freaking post.
Crunch, rattle, smack, crunch. Hold on. You know, we need to smack. I got one for that. Hold on. There we go.
No snacking on the mic. I've been guilty myself. I can't throw stones at anybody.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to play sound effects. Just saying.
Oh, no. Play all the sound
I bet you've
effects you
done
want.
that too, Nice Strike accidentally. I bet you've done that.
Don't make me throw out the Biden memes. I'll do it.
Hey, go ahead, rock and roll, because we got a minute or two of this while they're arguing. Back and forth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make a motion under Rule 19 for transgression of rules by member against Representative Todd for inflicting physical contact intentionally against one of our members.
Proper motion.
Man, these fucking
Properly
people,
seconded.
man.
Is there objection? There's objection. We're on the board.
Hold on. Wait a second. I got to back something up.
Under
I got
Rule
this.
This is the
19,
way he's getting assaulted by
Chairman
them.
point that has
Clemens is
to be
ruling
made.
Representative vote.
This is the point that has to be made.
For inflicting physical contact.
Hold on. Give it a sec. This is a point that has to be made. This is a very valid point. Give it just a second because it'll kick on. And this is a serious talking point I have to get to. And we all know me and serious talking points. I seriously got to do some more episodes of serious news.
Yeah, just let me in on that because I always have a quip or two to talk about it because we talked about it yesterday and I brought up some damn good points.
For inflicting physical.
Okay. Is it just me or does this chick look like a bouncer in a lesbian bar?
She looks more lesbian.
She definitely looks like a bouncer in a lesbian bar. Okay, back to
Contact
regular
intentionally
schedule.
against one of our members.
Proper motion.
Yes,
Properly
not bad looking.
seconded. Is there objection? There's objection. We're on the board. Under Rule 19, Chairman Clemens is ruling Representative Todd out of order. If you vote for it, if you vote for Rule 19, vote aye. If you're against it for
Kiddo.
Representative Todd, vote no. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
You realize your pants are on inside out.
No, Coop. This is Tennessee, correct?
Yes, this is Tennessee.
Oh, good. I know why this is going on.
Yeah, they're trying to flip a red
Mr.
state.
Clerk, take the vote.
Yeah, they are trying hard to flip
Ayes
this.
23, 73 nays.
It was that school shooting, and also, mind you, this is the state where fucking Taylor
Representative
Swift
Zachary,
is
for what
located.
purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Rule 19 to rule Representative Jones out of order for recording on the House floor and continually breaking House rules, Mr. Speaker.
That's proper motion, properly seconded. We're on the board. Is there objection? There's objection.
And remember, Jones is one of the ones that got
Objection.
ejected from the House.
All those in
What, a
favor,
year or
Rule
two ago?
19 for recording on the House floor by Representative
Him,
Jones,
Billy
vote aye
Gross
when the bell
Gruff,
rings.
and
Those
Look at him. He's
opposed,
still
vote
fucking
no.
doing his fist.
Yeah.
Oh snap! Rule violation it is.
Yes, it is, baby.
Rule violation,
Mr. Clerk,
bitch.
please take the vote.
More yeses
Ayes
than no's,
72,
bitch.
24 nays.
Now, nothing will happen
Passes.
to him.
Representative Powell, for what purpose?
Rule 19 for Representative Moon videotaping on the House floor.
Under Rule 19, that's proper motion, probably seconded. There's objection. We're on the board. All those in
Speaker of the House
favor,
looks like he's fixing to die laughing at this point.
vote aye. Those opposed, vote no.
Why are they voting no?
It's
I
the other
think
Mr.
that
Clerk,
was-
take the vote.
I think
Ayes
that
23,
was the
71
dude
nays.
that Jones
It
had the
fails.
rub with.
Representative Zachary, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move orders of the day.
Spurs of the day, Mr. Clerk.
So now they're
Mr.
trying to
Speaker,
get
the
on
House
with
is
the rest of the
currently
daily
on
business.
Senate Bill 2749 by
Woman,
Chairman
quit
Faison as
fisting up
item
in the
4 on
air.
today's calendar.
Chairman Faison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2749.
Chairman Faison moves to substitute form to Senate Bill 2749, probably seconded without objection. So
look at
ordered.
woman
Chairman
showing
They
off.
Faison.
keep on. They're trying to clear the gallery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage Senate Bill
And this just
2749
keeps
on
running.
third and final consideration.
Chairman Faison moves passage of Senate Bill 2749 on third and final consideration.
The
Probably seconded.
heartbeat
Mr. Clerk, about First
of
Amendment.
this.
My
Absolutely.
God,
I can
dude.
tell you how you
Amendment
clear that
number three.
the gallery real
Chairman
fast.
Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Rock
Same
salt.
as Senate Amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Send the guards, the
House
security
Amendment
guards
two,
up there with the
Chairman Faison, Mr.
shotgun
Speaker, it was
and
time
have
to
them just
file.
rack the
Representative
shotgun
Faison, you're
once.
recognized.
They'll
Move
run.
to withdraw.
Representative
My idea
Faison.
was more fun. Rock salt.
These fucking
You don't
youth
even
that
have
are up
you
there.
don't have to load the shotgun. Just rack it. These idiots
Without
don't know
objection,
either
amendment
one
number
way or
two
the other.
withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
That's
Amendment
right.
three
These
by
are the
Representative
same youth that are pushing for
Pearson, Mr.
pre-Palestine.
That's why I said they don't know one thing over the other.
Joe Biden just rack a shotgun.
You know, Joe said you only need a double barrel shotgun. Just 2 shots is fine.
Yeah, that's a good way to get my wife
Thank
killed.
you, Speaker. This amendment
Are you married, Warsaw?
recognizes the intent of this legislation, but
Sarcasm. If I had a
recognizes
wife
that there are
and
some
my wife
challenges
was
that
held
need to be
hostage,
addressed
a
with it,
shotgun is the
that we
best
need
thing,
to
whatever it
tackle
is.
some more serious and important issues, such as those that people here are advocating for. And so I want us to focus on those, the fight that's
Good old
happening against
Dallas
gun
Ford
violence. And so
Malcolm
with that, I'm going to withdraw this amendment.
Without objection,
fuck your
amendment
gun
number
violence.
3.
Even the
And
fucking
the
mask
mask.
stuff.
Oh, I didn't see that earlier.
What, the mask?
Oh,
Point of order.
yes.
I'm so sick and tired of these fucking guys showing their fists in the air like they're fisting something.
Shaft. See, that dude wishes he was Shaft.
Representative Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I call Representative
more like
Jones
he
out
was
of order under
shafted.
violation of Rule 19 again.
Proper motion, probably seconded. Is there objection? There's objection. We're on the board. All those in favor, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 72, 15 nays.
Approves again.
I gotta do it. Let's stop sharing because I gotta finish up a few things before I actually crash. But yeah, so this insanity on the House floor, and you guys can watch it if you want. This continues for a while, and then they get into some hearings about letting underage kids get abortions without parental consent. And of course, the Democrats are all over that. Yeah, well, they should be able to do it, and da 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 da. And it's straight insanity the whole freaking time.
Coop, the moment they push for legalizing pedophilia, that's where we cross the fucking line.
Brother, they're already pushing for that. Where have you been for the last 3 years, at least?
He's been on a rock.
No, I haven't been on a rock. I'm just saying I've seen bits here and there. I mean, the last time I saw it was in California, but other states I haven't seen that shit yet.
Well, that's where they came up with the term minor attracted person.
Yeah,
when they're trying to normalize it. They already have their stripe on the LBGTQ ABC whatever flag. There, I'd have to look it up again. I try to seriously purge my brain of some things, but yeah, they actually have their own stripe on the flag already. Minor attractive persons. Yeah.
Yep, and we also got a fucking Free Palestine movement going across our fucking country.
Oh well, yeah, that too.
And what was the last group? Oh yeah, a communist party in Brooklyn, New York too.
Yeah, well, they've been there for a while.
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge, a great book series that I love to listen to. The first Galaxy's Edge, you got a couple of different parts of the series, but the first part of the main book series, the opening line of that is the galaxy is a dumpster fire. I will submit to you that right now the world is a dumpster fire. And that's just the way it is, kids. Man. And yeah, this, like I said, this goes on for a while longer tonight. From the time I stopped the stream, basically 45, 50 minutes, hour or so, this kept going. They cleared the gallery. They're still screaming in the hallway, screaming whoever, and then trying to justify a 13-year-old girl getting an abortion without parental consent. It's no wonder I drink, because I listen to shit like this. But that's been the day, kids. So far, Tennessee, they're starting out with this morning. They passed a bill through the Criminal Justice Committee in the House that said different counties and different cities could not pass their own red flag laws, a preemption law, which was great. That means you can't just go decide shit without going by state law, which is fine. I love that. The fix for constitutional carry, which was about the criminality of carrying a firearm or the criminal
penal code.
Well, it was basically that if a police officer noticed you were carrying a firearm or they thought you were carrying a firearm, they could come question you. It was more than enough for them to come run your license, run your permit, and do all that. That got hung up. It's still hung up in the Senate, and the House tabled it today.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to this tonight, where, now teachers will be able to, with the permission of everybody, be able to be armed to defend themselves and the students. And then they went absolutely fucking insane from there.
Also,
Tennessee's been busy today.
Coop, I think did I send you that video by any chance? The one about them actually hushing up the Memphis shooting with the manifesto?
Yes.
It was Taylor Swift. It's something to do with Taylor Swift actually literally telling the masses to actually not bring out the light of the actual manifesto.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched part of that and then I got back onto this. And yeah, what does Taylor Swift have to do with any of this?
It's the youngsters, all these fucking youngsters,
shitty guys.
Yeah.
No wonder she likes Biden.
It's no wonder we got a young, it's no wonder we got a young populace that's literally following these fucking idiots.
Oh man, it's just we live in absolutely insane times, folks.
I hate to say this, but maybe this is the end of days. Maybe it is we are living in the times of cat and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
I got something worse for you.
You know, I'm just waiting for the fire and brimstone.
Coop, you ever seen the movie
You
Open
and me
Season?
both. What?
You ever seen that movie Open Season from 2006?
The animation? Yeah.
Yeah, it was where pretty much I forget the guy's name, that hunter. I think it was Shaw. Well, he deemed the idea of man will be ruled by animals and we will be the pets.
At this point, I could really see cats ruling the world, as dumb as people are getting. We already get them to shit in a box and we get to clean it up. So they're not far from completely ruling everything. At least dogs are like, hey, just throw the ball, motherfucker. I'll go get it.
Or the stick.
Yeah, or the stick, or my mother and father-in-law's dog. It's the pine cone game.
I mean, at this point, we're normalizing furries and weird shit. I mean, God, man.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that Warsaw. We'll be here till fucking 4 o'clock in the morning, and I
would like to get some sleep tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. I still got stuff I got to do before I rack out.
Yeah.
And all you guys got to transition to DLD's channel. It's in the chat. You guys get over to DLD. I know who DLD is.
I don't know if they want to transition. They might just want to go watch. Don't transition into anything, please.
Yeah, well, transitioning's up to you. All I'm saying is DLD's there. He'll go live. He'll probably be talking about something a fuckload painful or less painful than what I've been talking about. And we're going to end it there. So we'll do like we always do, man. You perks be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times. I love each and every one of you guys. Thanks for showing up. Night Strike, tell them where they can find you.
They can find me on YouTube at Night Strike, NIGHTSTRYKE. It's easier than trying to do the whole, URL thing, because URL thing is like, it's just YouTube.com/@Night Strike. There you go.
And don't do them a plasma cut where you spell it with an I instead of a Y.
No, you gotta there's only one I. There's one I and there's a Y at the end. So it's fine.
Because for those of you who don't know the joke, I did a plasma cut for Night Strike long time ago,
and I'm
spelled it wrong.
And I'm like, Coop, that looks awesome. It looks wonderful. Thank you, but you forgot the Y at the end. And he looks at it. And he goes like, "Motherfucker, I did.
Bigger than shit." And Warsaw, tell them about yourself. Give them a quick hit up real fast, because.
All right. Yeah, I'm Warsaw page for it. You can find me here on YouTube. Also you can see me on Bishop on Air. Every once in a while you see me hitting on there.
Yeah, Bishop on Air in the mornings. Bishop normally goes live about anywhere from 8:30 to about 8:45. Pretty much every weekday morning. You'll see me and Night Strike, or me and Warsaw in there. And then you'll see Warsaw in my chats. You'll see Warsaw hanging out in a bunch of the chats that we all hang out in.
Yeah. You'll see Coop in my chats. You'll see Coop in his own chats. You'll see me in his chats more than likely.
Yep.
It's a regular circle jerk. It really is.
Well, it's only because,
why am I always the switch man?
The switch man? Okay. Oh, here's a good one for you.
Okay. I'll tell you why, Coop. I'll tell you why. Because you give as good as you get.
This is true.
Actually, Coop, do you actually have a switch by any chance? A light switch?
Does a goon beam count?
Yeah. Why is our gun rights always being used like a light switch constantly every time, man?
Because
we live a lot of idiots.
It is so full of people who are so uninformed about things that they can basically just rip our rights to pieces every time we turn around.
Well, no, it'd be like me. All right. So, I'm the father, right? And I turn off that light switch and I'm going to sleep. My son keeps turning that fucking thing on. And I tell him, hey, quit that shit. Turn it back off. And he keeps fucking with it.
Dude, I have played that game with mine. Both my daughter and my son. I've done it recently.
No, but you get the same concept. It's the same thing with the gun rights.
And it is until the vast majority of Americans get back to being independent and actually respecting their own rights, then it's going to be that light switch. You can have this, you can have that. You can have this, you can't have that. And it's just on and off the whole time.
Constant fuckery.
And like we've all talked about it on stream before, man. The next few months are going to get crazy. And if oh God, if Democrats actually gain the presidency,
all I'm going to say is everyone, if you're not a prepper, start ammo, guns, guns you don't have. Okay. Guns you're looking at, guns that are on your bucket list, get them. Okay. Get ammo for them. If you don't have any sort of, you know, dehydrated food that you can rehydrate and, you know, use, go get some.
Yes.
Be prepared.
It would behoove you to, at the very least, stock them on some basic essentials.
Yeah.
Dry
toilet
food,
paper,
canned
paper
food.
towels, you know,
Yeah.
the standard shit.
Don't do like COVID and raid all the toilet paper, though. Jesus
Yeah, no.
Christ. It was a fucking respiratory disease.
Here's my advice: get a rucksack or a backpack at least.
You know,
Yeah, I'd recommend definitely having that. And to be in all seriousness, I would recommend having a whole lot of medical.
And for those saying night strike, why do we need to keep food around? Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, you know, have some extra food because you don't know. Most of the country, most of the Midwest and the middle part of the country get tornadoes quite often. You know, you might need it because a tornado comes by. Or if you're like me, you have to have generators and extra food and whatnot that's not, you know, refrigerated or frozen because guess what? I get hurricanes all the damn time.
Here's a question for you, Night Strike.
Which is this going this way?
Remember COVID? When people were crazy over TP trying to look for it on the aisles?
Dude, when I ran out, I had a problem because I didn't have any at home.
Yeah. So
I just started buying from. It was really weird getting toilet paper from Amazon Prime. Let me tell you.
How much were you paying, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't remember. I just know it was way too much.
People were asking for $200 just for a fucking 16-pound pack, and I'm like, you guys are high on eBay.
It's been a bit ridiculous. So you know,
I'm just gonna stop this, and then I can.
If you don't have toilet paper, you know, get some, but don't go like COVID style. Okay.
Yeah, something, man. Trust me, you can wash your butt. There's better ways to do things.
Get a garden hose for Pete's sake.
Yeah, go out in the front yard, hose everything. I mean,
yeah, you'll be better. Remember to use soap though.
Yeah, soap is definitely important. But anyway, guys, let's get out of here. You guys shift to DLD. You guys, let's go hang out. I got a few more things I got to do. And other than that, man, like I said, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Knight, thanks for hanging out. Warsaw, brother,
Anytime.
Thanks for hanging out. Fluffy Bunny showing up. Taco Syndicate, freaking Gabriel. I can't even name all the cool cats that showed up tonight. But you guys all be cool, man. Let's get out of here. Laters.